The quarterfinals are now set for the men, but we are going to dive back into the women's event this afternoon with quarterfinal number 1 shaping up beautifully. Tyler Wright coming into this event after missing a few stops on the championship tour due to injury, up against Joanne Defay, who has clinched her spot in the WSL Final 5. Just 3 places remain up for grabs, Pete Mel. And I don't know who's going to get them, do you?
Well, I mean, a lot riding on these quarterfinals for that reason right there, because a lot of those surfers that are vying for that Final 5 spot are sitting right there in that quarterfinal. So these matchups are perfectly set up for an exciting finish of the day.
We loved watching those big full rail turns from some of the really informed surfers on the men's side. And yesterday we got a glimpse of what the women are capable of. Steph Gilmore lit things up yesterday afternoon, and she is going to feature in those quarterfinal clashes as well. But I think we're going to see an inspired field here as surfers look to give themselves a title shot at the end of this season. And yeah, even the exciting rookie is going to be in the mix, Gabriella
So cool.
Bryan.
Yeah, so cool. And and she's up against Steph Gilmore. That's in quarterfinal number 2 coming up next. But right now, Joanne Defay and the veteran Tyler Wright. Tyler put on a performance yesterday that it made me feel like she's after another win this season. You know, after winning bells, taking some events off. I mean, she could find herself, knocking at that door of the Final 5 here as well if she can get through a couple more heats and take a win in J-Bay.
Well, she was so well placed and so strong down at Bells Beach. But it's going to be Joanne Defay, the current world number 2, getting things started nice and early. And have a look at the size of this wave, standing up beautifully. Joanne lines up the tube, but drives away wisely as that one clamps closed. And she weighs up her options through the inside now. This wave starting to step out on the inside. I wonder if this thing's going to tube and roll through and give that big opportunity to get slotted, as Joanne just instead goes to those moves. Nice cut down there. A bit of foam on the face. This one's getting a little ugly down the line, and she's going to get out of there.
Calling for the ski, using a board that looks a little bit aged. It's been in her quiver for a little while. Those bigger boards can do that. If you're really, maybe say Sunset Beach is something that she might have had in her quiver that's kept around. But I'll tell you get comfortable with those bigger boards, especially in conditions like this. That's the board that's going to go into the quiver and under the feet.
Yeah, it is just, a very controlled approach there from Joanne on that opening ride. But, man, she has been on fire. She hasn't missed a final series yet this season, and all the big results have really come in the back half of the year where you've got to make your move. Every result counts, and she hasn't missed the semis. In fact, she's cracked 2 finals in this back half of the season. In
her last round, she was able to clinch that spot, so she is definitely going to be at Trestles at the Rip Curl WSL Finals in September. Watching this wave here, yeah, you're saying it was a bit more of a measured approach, towards this end section here. It flattened out, she gets some maneuvers done, but a lot of work outside was basically chasing it down the line. So it won't be a gigantic number for her, but she's felt that board out under her feet. Probably hasn't ridden this one, to the date. Really, it looks like a bigger pintail. So this is probably the first time we get to see her with this board.
Joanne's not one to shy away from the conditions. She's been great since she joined the tour ranks back in 2014. The surfer who grew up in Reunion Island, representing France at the Olympics last year. But she has been climbing towards that dream of a shot at a world title. She got it last year, fell short, but she's set up to have another crack at it this season as we see Tyler Wright, the 2-time world champion from Australia, getting her opportunity on a big set wave here on the outside. Tyler's just got such a great range of moves that she can call on, an incredible assortment of forehand turns in particular that she can bring to these long walls. Great variation in her approach, and this wave starting to step out. The other thing Tyler's got working in her favour, an amazing forehand tube rider as she rides high on this one, now drops to the bottom, weighs up her options. Little layback jam there, didn't really overcommit to the move. Instead, I think, identifying that there might be the opportunity to get barreled down the line here. But much like Joanne Defay's ride, this one's going to get a little bit ugly down the line, and she never really found her flow.
Riding the 5'9" high line from Peisel for this matchup. So again, a little bigger board for her. She had a matching 5'9" sitting there. I didn't get the model number of that one, but both similar rounded pintails, perfect for these J-Bay walls.
Can't remember if it was 2016 or 17, before the Women's Championship Tour event came back here to Jeffreys Bay and was welcome back to the Championship Tour schedule for the women. But Tyler Wright came here on a free surfing effort, and she she was absolutely blowing minds.
I remember
and,
that.
she hasn't had the opportunity yet here at Jeffreys Bay to chase the win. She gets that spot in 2022, and it doesn't look like she's going to waste it. Looking like she's in great control of her equipment through this ride at the opening stages, Pete.
Yeah, and we got this fuller tide, so the undulations and the waffle still there from this morning. Actually, probably a bit more pronounced, being that we've got the higher tide conditions. You know, with this, you know, a lot of water moving, you're getting the reverberation off of the rocks on the inside. You know, some again measured maneuvers here on this wave, nice and clean though. Transitioning of her rails there. There was the outside turn that was pretty solid, and these inside turns getting stronger down the line, and a very long wave. You know, a lot of ground covered.
Standing up on the outside, we've got more set waves approaching here. Joanne Defay just getting back into that position. And I guess if Joanne and Tyler want to find a little bit more freedom in the pocket of these waves, they're going to have to maybe wear some of those bigger set waves on the head and look for those steeper walls.
Well, and that's exactly what Jordy, I mean, in the interview I had with him, he was talking about the fact that, like, in these higher tide conditions, it's sometimes the smaller waves are the waves to be going for. Matter of fact, his last wave was one of those types of waves. It stood up the whole way across the reef, and it was a, you know, a medium-sized set wave. Matter of fact, it was kind of a smaller set wave, but it had a lot of water in it up on the point, and he was able to rip it to shreds.
Yeah, I feel like Ethan Ewing wisened up to that approach too. He found some waves that allowed him to really dig into some steep walls. Didn't get overly focused on trying to get the biggest waves that were rolling his way, because they do sometimes just push out into that deeper water, and you're kind of forced into a flatter approach, which is always hard to track down those big scores. But Tyler Wright, I think, Pete, you know, it's a real shame for her that she did skip a few events, because she did show us just what she's capable of down there at Bells Beach. And I think when she has a goal in mind, just how easily she is able to click into that unbeatable mode and mow through the field.
Well, hopefully she's got a Final 5 bid in her mind right now, because I think that if she were to go on and win this event, you know, she's sitting on 28,660 points, you know, 10,000 points for the win. That puts you at 38,000 points. And right now, the number, you know, Brisa Hennessy sits at number 4, tied with Steph Gilmore, 35,500. So, I mean, ultimately, you can get the numbers needed there. I mean, obviously, they're going to be adding some points to their total, but she's going to be going into Tahiti, you know, after a big win here, you know, knocking at the door. Same with Jordy Smith. You know, he's kind of down the rankings, but Sammy Pupo, another one that could, you know, could come up with a win here. It's so much points on the line, though, that you can be right there knocking at the Final 5 for the last event of the season. I love how there's, you know, every event counts too, kind of towards this back end, because, you know, no mistakes can happen. It's just an added element of pressure.
Yeah, it is fun to watch, isn't it? Joanne Defay into the final series for the 9th time this year, getting herself into the quarterfinals. She'll have a great opportunity here. She's been strong against the big names. She always has been.
Yeah.
It's been one of the real strong points to her competitive success, is being able to overcome these multiple world champions. But Tyler Wright's going to swing into this one. Joanne just getting a very slight edge in that opening exchange, but hoping that those numbers are replaced with big ones for these two competitors, these two 28-year-olds, as we roll through the remaining 26.5 minutes of this heat. Here goes Joanne Defay. So already holding just a very narrow lead, and this wave has a bit more pocket that she can work with.
Smoother on the face as well. You know, you saw Tyler's wave had a bunch of lump in it. This one much smoother.
5 CT wins now for Joanne Defay. It stops all over the championship tour schedule, so she is really versatile, can get it done in all kinds of conditions as she tucks in and ejects and gets herself out of this one.
It's an interesting, all these techniques of the pencil dive, and it's very effective. You know, it's probably not the most, you know, best looking way of exiting a wave sometimes, but it is very effective. The feet down, you're able to just anchor yourself as you don't get sucked over. You know, you don't have the board next to you. You're jumping off, and then it's just a straight anchor, and you come right out the back. Great time saver.
Everyone's looking for deeper water on that end section too to jump off into, because this venue, you know, it is kind of flat and tricky, and then when there's those bumps, you can kind of skip out if you're trying to drive through the back of the wave sometimes. And if you drive into the face of that wave too high, there's a good chance you're going back over.
Watching this replay here, again, nice first turn, just carves it back, but look how clean this wall is. Second maneuver there, gets a little bit more edge in there, a little more rail. Then this one, I think this third turn here, she pushes a little bit harder. It's steeper on the face, so this is going to be an improvement. You know, she's going to definitely out here. Could be a keeper score. Much more aggressiveness in that arc there, and at this point she's looking for the barrel, but realizes it's going to shut down. In
a heat like this, Pete, obviously when you're free surfing, you know, you're trying to identify a wave out here that, you know, is going to hit the inside and really rattle off, but you're happy to take the set waves when you're just out there without the jersey on. How hard's that adjustment to make to kind of go looking for the medium-sized rides and maybe put yourself in the path of those bigger set waves and wearing some big whitewater on the head?
You know, you got to do what you got to do, right? I mean, if you identify that and your coach is identifying that, you're like, hey, you got to go out there and execute it. If you don't, you know, you could find yourself doing the runner-up interview. You don't want that.
Well, Laura Anabar watching on from out there in the lineup. Laura, Joanne's just turned in a 5.33, but it was kind of limited steep face to work with before that wave flattened out.
Yeah, you guys are just talking about how it seems like the girls, you know, you're coming out in a free surf, you just want to catch the set waves. The girls are out here at the moment and they're actually going a lot of the set waves that seem to not hit the bank, as well as we've seen some of the boys catch those sort of middle-sized set waves that have been running along. And Tyler even pulled off one of her waves then and said, it was like she was talking to herself, she's like, the small ones, I need to get a smaller one, she yelled out. Here she goes now on the smaller draining waves. So back to you guys.
Thank you, Laura. Yeah, already has that big, probably the best turn of this heat so far on that opening section, Tyler Wright. But this wave now moving through to the inside. She'll get a couple more opportunities here as she banks off the bottom into the hook again. A smooth top turn. And now rounding it out with a big drawn-out carve to finish, and gets out in front of this one and gets on out of there. But that was a better wave, Pete. It did steepen up at the start and allowed that big first turn.
Yeah, matching Joanne Defay, maybe even slightly better. Again, I love the adjustment there. She was realizing that those bigger set waves were flatter on the face, a lot more difficult to get your rail dug in. So she made an adjustment, gets that mid-size set, much easier, you know, just a steeper face and not so flat.
This is one of those waves, you know, like Bells Beach, there's the perception that there isn't much power because the transition in the face of the wave, it isn't heaving and throwing out and really hollow, but there's so much push as all that water unloads down the reef. So you do take some hits duck diving these waves on the inside.
No, it'll drag you. You know, the deeper water actually is probably, it's more powerful feeling when you have to punch through it. The white water's stronger because it's moving faster because it's not hitting the bottom as much, the energy. You know, it definitely looks more dynamic when you've got a wave that's super hollow and breaks, you know, on shallow water. But you know, ultimately there's challenges for everything. You see again, this is the replay of Tyler Wright's wave, the adjustment to a, you know, it's probably only a foot or two smaller, but it's just got much more steepness to the face, cleanliness. So she's jamming down the line here, and it's going to stay closer to the reef, especially with this fuller tide, which allows it to have that steeper face. This wave does back off after that first initial section, but it loads back up again, and she does end up getting the best number of the heat. You know, it's these combos of turns right here, the snap, and then drives through and carves, so a good mix of variety there for that finish.
Yeah, I think even just getting out in front of that closeout section shows some commitment to the end of it rather than doing a half a turn and kind of kicking out over the back of the wave. We'll see if Joanne Defay can serve up a big answer here, because Tyler Wright dropped a 6.83 as Joanne loads up. This one a lot cleaner. She has a whole lot of speed. You can tell she's got a bit more foam under her feet, and she's easily gliding over all the bumps out there, but just can't find a bit of open face to really lay that board over and get that first big turn in.
It never slowed up. It was just running the whole time. Every time she got to that moment where she was going to be able to execute a turn, it was just too steep, and it was going to chase her down again, so she had to keep running down the line. So this is going to be an opportunity lost really for Joanne Defay, because it's not going to be into her top two, just no maneuvers done.
Really scary lower seeds in these quarterfinal heats for those surfers at the top end of the rankings at the moment. Tyler Wright coming in 10th, you know, one of the greats and one of the most winning surfers there's ever been on the championship tour, and then Caroline Marks also making her competitive return in the past
Bryan.
couple of events, and really warming, isn't she?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's what I love about these quarterfinals, is that there's so much on the line there. You've got, you know, this heat right here, Joanne Defay, she's clinched, so this one probably the less stressful, but I mean, Tyler Wright, she knows if she gets the win and gets into the semis and into, you know, ultimately the finals, she could find herself right there, you know, knocking at in the rankings of the final five.
Well, loving his time here at Jeffreys Bay. Rosie, we had him pegged for a big finish in this contest. Things are going to plan for Ethan Ewing.
Man, he's so fun to watch, but also noting that he's spent so much time in the lead up to this contest, making the sacrifice, going straight from Rio, straight to South Africa, just making sure that you get to know this place. I know that you're also using some local knowledge. Do you want to tell us about that, Ethan?
Yeah, I'm working with Duncan Scott here. I was just looking for someone that's watched this wave a lot and has a lot of knowledge. So, and decided to come here early. Just I haven't spent too much time here, and there's a lot to learn about this wave. So, stoked it's kind of paying off now.
Been asking everyone in the upper echelon of the rankings if the pressure's starting to come in. Obviously, Griffin falling out of the mix in that heat before yours. Thinking about the final 5, is that factoring into anything in your performance?
To be honest, I haven't really been thinking about it too much. Just the waves are so good. It's just really exciting to have good waves for an event. The last few haven't really been that great, so to get here and get really fun waves is it's really exciting.
And I'm sure you hear it a lot that Jeffreys Bay really suits your surfing. How much do you have to contain yourself when you're surfing out here when the waves are so good, because you just seem so composed?
Yeah, it's kind of different in a heat. I think in my free surfs I'd catch a lot more waves. Kind of have to be a little bit smarter with like taking off on waves and using priority. So yeah, it's just a world-class wave, and I hope I can have a few more heats out here and get a good result.
It doesn't even look like you've broken a sweat. Thanks for your time, Ethan.
Thank you, Rosie, and we can look forward to an unbelievable matchup. Ethan Ewing's going to be taking on Geordie Smith. What a battle that's going to be.
Oh, so cool. And it's so much on the line, really.
Yeah, Geordie's looking to make that big late charge. He verbalised that to you, Pete. He's got a couple of wins in mind in these last 2 contests to potentially give himself a shot at Trestles, as we see Tyler up again. 6.83 on her last ride. Has a whole lot of speed. Looks like she might get caught behind this one for some time, but she's committed and she's going to find that open face again. This wave really just pushing her down the line. And she did do a pretty nice turn on that outside, so she's willing to commit to it. And she can back up that 6.83 with something big here on the inside, but this is a big commitment required if you're going to get yourself the big number here, and she's going to opt out of this one. Self-preservation is key.
And board preservation, you know. She's already had a broken board, one of her best in her quiver, the board that she won bells on. She actually wanted to keep the 2 pieces too. She was like, I wanted to keep them around because we got to make sure that we can replicate it.
Still riding your board from Mavericks, the wave?
The wave, yeah, no, it's in my collection, yes. But I have added a few to the quiver, so that board will be there. I think, you know, it is a go-to board, you know, and that's what happens with any of your magic board quiver. You keep it in your board bag, you keep it close to you.
Just under 17.5 minutes remaining. Gabriella Bryan just trying to find some space here, and the way she's been surfing, she's going to have to get used to getting swamped by big crowds. Just such a magic performance she's had in her rookie season, Pete. Just really seems to hold her nerve, and she's already had a heat win over Stephanie Gilmore this year at Sunset, so that'll be in the back of her mind. Holds a 1-0 record against the 7-time world champ. It's a good little nugget to take into a quarterfinal heat.
Yeah, it's super cool. Reynolds Hayes following her down there, his coaching duties, been working with her on the North Shore. I mean, again, you think about what she can do this at the end of the season here. Head into the beginning of next season, you got 2 events right in your home turf. I mean, she spends a lot of time on the North Shore, obviously grew up in Kauai, but, you know, has made moves over there to the North Shore and spent months at a time working with Reynolds and getting to know those waves.
Well, you think about it now, what's happening on the rankings on the women's side, and Gabriella Bryan is sort of seeing some spots there up for grabs. Isabella Nichols just above her coming into this contest, out of the mix.
Yep.
Lakey Peterson up there in 3rd position coming into this event has fallen out of the contest. Yep. So there's a bit more of a compressed group of competitors at the top end of the women's ratings, and those last 3 spots are right there for the taking if you can turn in that big result.
Yeah, this quarterfinal is the novel, so just stay tuned because it's going to unfold these chapters here. Chapter 1 right in the water right now. You got 3 more chapters before the end of the day.
Just under 16 minutes to go. Tyler Wright puts up a 4.5. That's another reasonable number, but it's just the good backup that she needed. Joanne Defay after a 6.01 at the moment. And I think Joanne's going to have to potentially shift her strategy here, Pete, because she's been on some big waves, but I think Tyler on those medium-sized sets has found the steeper sections.
Yeah, and this is an important exchange in this kind of at the halfway mark in the heat. You know, this next choice of wave needs to be a good one, and she needs to be her best number there if she wants to keep in this heat.
Here goes Joanne now. So a nice deep takeoff and looking to potentially set this one up from deep, but she's going to opt out. It's going to stretch out and get away from her, and that'll gift Tyler Wright the priority and her pick of the next set wave that rolls on through here. But Joanne trying to maybe scramble into a position to pick up on that next wave in the set, and she didn't quite get there.
Yeah, it's a mistake, unfortunately, because she did give up priority. And especially if Tyler utilizes it and to good effect. You know, she's carrying that 4.5. She doesn't want to have that in her score line.
Really interesting, just thinking about Tyler Wright and her dominance through her world title years, Pete. So strong, particularly in her maiden world title year. 5 victories and stitched it up nice and early. The second year she came back. I think just maintained that confident approach, and despite a knee injury at the end of the season, held on for a second world title. But winning world titles back-to-back the same years that John Florence did, and they have kind of had a similar run since. Injuries, big obstacles that they've had to overcome, and it's really held them back. And, you know, it's kind of created a bit of space for some other surfers to get themselves up into that title conversation. But Tyler, it just feels like she might be warming to another big title push this year even.
Yeah, no, it's true. You know, and I think, you know, into speaking, whether she's in personally such a good, comfortable space, you know, she understands that she has some help. You know, when she was had some struggles, she had some great people there to support her with her family. Now, you know, has a fiance and is ready to get married and all those things. All this, you know, personally, she's just in a great, warm space. Yeah,
I think too, you know, we talked about at the start of this heat, when she focuses in on a goal, like she really wanted to win bells, you know, and it's an event that she, you know, always had her eyes on. You know, she smashed it, and she overcame Carissa Moore in that final quite easily. But then, you know, just reassessing what her goals are now going through the back half of the season. You know, I think Jeffreys Bay is another one that she can probably look back on and think, you know, I've never really had the opportunity here. My surfing suits this wave. I've got the variation. I can match it with Carissa and Steph. I've beaten them on right-handers before. And, you know, she might just get that opportunity, but this heat's not over just yet.
No, it isn't. No, I mean, 12.5 minutes, but I mean, I feel like, you know, this portion of the heat, you know, where's this momentum shift with the mistake? You know, Joanne could have easily swung it back in her court if she was able to produce a good number right here, but it didn't happen.
Could be a major turning point in the heat. Tyler Wright's out there with priority and the lead here in quarterfinal number 1. Joanne Defay after a 6.01.
J'aime bien faire du yoga, même si ça fait partie de l'entraînement un peu, mais c'est les moments que j'ai pour moi, où je suis toute seule, où tout redescend et je me recentre un peu sur moi, et c'est important.
Finals day, all Brazilian semi-final for the men.
First finals.
First final.
How are you feeling?
Amazing.
Team Felipe, Team Sammy. I actually want to jump under there with you.
Hi, I'm Courtney Kalmog. I'm from Santa Ana, California. Being a surfer from Santa Ana, I grew up only surfing on the weekends. A lot of people don't realize that. I went to school Monday through Friday. I was a weekend warrior.
I'm confident on all the boards that we had in Maui.
Yeah, let's figure out like what you're gonna want. It's like, okay, it's this big, the waves are like this,
Yeah.
This is my board.
Through illness, I dropped between 16 and 18 kilos. So I had to change my board to my weight. Should we ever look at a 5'8.5"?
Just because you're so small, that would probably be something worth trying.
When I look at waves of consequences, like pipe, I have to go figure out how to be more precise, or I could really get hurt.
All right, well, I think I should go to work then, on that note.
Tyler Wright up at the moment and leading this heat, using her priority on this ride. And holding just a narrow lead over Joanne Defay at the moment, trying to make the jump from 10th place, maybe into a position to get herself into the WSL Final 5 and get a shot at a world title. She missed that spot last season due to injury, and she's working this one over. And a couple of nice hawks grabbing that rail and jumping off on the inside. But Tyler, originally from Culburra, now settling into life in Newcastle with her fiancée Lily, who's travelling with her at the moment. But the 4.5 could be heading out the door here, Pete. That was a pretty reasonable ride, another solid finish on the inside. And Tyler starting to ramp things up here against the current world number 2.
Yeah, it's safe to say I feel like that's going to lift that score line a little bit. You know, and again, another quick wave for Joanne Defay. You know, last 3 waves have been kind of throwaway scores, so some momentum still right there with Tyler Wright. You know, she's building each time she's using the priority, she's building a score line, which is what you need to do.
Joanne climbing on the back of the ski there too. Yeah, if you want to get a little bit more insight on Tyler's struggles and you know, just what she's been facing over the past few years, check out that episode, the first episode of Make or Break Season 1 on Apple Plus. It's available now. But it's a good deep dive into the things, the challenges that she faced after contracting influenza A while she was here in Africa. And yeah, she had post-viral syndrome, and it was a long road back, and it took a while to figure out what was actually up. But here she is, looking strong, looking fit, and banking really solid scores. She's just dropped to 7.17.
Yeah, and as I recall, there was a battling with fatigue, right? It was like literally she just barely get out of bed at times, and that's just that's a struggle, especially if you're as active as she had been, you know, through her childhood and through all of her tour life, and all of a sudden just not being able to have any motivation to even get out of bed. It's just tough.
She went from being unbeatable through that period, her world title years, and you know, as I said, John Florence, much the same. You know, only really stalled by injury. The rest of the field, they were rattled every time they came up against her because she was just so unfazed. She seemed to wash losses off really easy. She could go on a run through a good portion of the season without dropping a poor result. Incredibly consistent. But her performance down at Bells Beach, Pete, we touched on it earlier on, was legendary. She showed us that amazing variation. She can be super progressive. She can kick that tail, but I just love her aggression.
So cool. It really is. And, you know, and she made some major changes in her life. You know, she had been riding different, you know, Mayhem boards and made a full switch over to the Pizels, and, you know, coaches switching, you know, a lot of stuff changing in her life. So those adjustments have now pretty much settled in. I mean, and she seems to be putting it all together here, and especially this day, you know, at Bells, winning, you know, being able to win one of the most prestigious trophies in surfing.
Most definitely. And I just had that iconic image of her in mind post-victory, just riding her last wave in, her hands above her head. It was awesome to see how much it meant to her, and great to see her come back and get that winning feeling once again.
And that smile, right? I mean, she's so intense as a competitor. When you get to see her just glowing right there, that's that shot you had been mentioning. Was meant so much to her, especially with having everyone there for you know, family and friends and the sponsors, you know, hometown. It's a special event to win.
Yeah, it just seemed like the, you know, destiny had been fulfilled at that point. A little different to when Matt Wilkinson won, and he was just saying, what just happened? He was still trying to figure it out. But no, it was great to see. And as I said before, one of the most winning surfers on the championship tour. She's racked up 15 CT wins, and she'll probably rack up a couple of more, and she might even get one here at Jeffreys Bay. But Laura Anavar, you've been competing against Tyler, and you've sat back and watched now how she's just overcome the hurdles over these past few years. It's amazing to see her back in this kind of form.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing to see Tyler here. And, you know, she came here in 2018, didn't get to compete. That was when she contracted influenza A. So to see her back here, 2022, you know, she hasn't surfed out here in an event before. I think she surfed here once before that event before she got sick. So even speaking to her after her round 1 heat, she's getting to know this wave while she's also in a do or die, win or nothing situation. She's made it clear she still wants to be in the title contention this year. But for that to happen, it's a must must-win situation. So, you know, just showing that she's always just continuing to evolve and grow and learn on the run and put herself in these situations. She's overcome so much adversity, and just take my hat off to her, because she's found the groove out here in this heat and is finally getting some of those good to excellent scores.
Yeah, it's a big number required for Joanne Defay now, 8.67, but Laura's spot on, Pete. This is a must-win situation, but I feel like, you know, for Tyler or for the rest of the field, it's a real concern with Tyler, because either way, she'll be cool. She'll be relaxed about it. If she doesn't win through here, or if she doesn't get the result that she needs, she'll be a bit whatever about it. She just seems to have great perspective on what competition means to her in the context of life as a whole at the moment. And I just don't see her feeling the pressure of cracking into that final five. I think if she gets there, all good. If she doesn't, she'll get there next year and really focus in on a world title once again.
That's a special trait to have, to be able to wash off losses and not let them be baggage. You know, it's something she's probably had to work on, and you know, over the years. I think that there was, you know, sometimes those losses she always put it there, but it feels, you know, especially when you're intense and you're going for world titles and you have losses, they hurt.
I lost the rugby league grand final when I was 13, and I still lose sleep about it.
Right? Yeah. See, you can carry it. You're still carrying it. We can let that go though, if you want. I'm here for you.
Nah, I'm going to mull over it for a couple more years. Here we go. Rider up on the outside. Joanne Defay with 4 minutes to go goes after that big number. It's an 8.67. She may not have time to get back out there and get a second ride, so this may be her last shot at it. Gliding through a couple of big off the tops. This is a pretty steep wave. Has the speed to get back out in front of this one, but it might just reel off without her. Maybe her only chance was to try and backdoor that section, but it's not called impossibles for no reason.
So true. Yeah, now at 3:30 left here, I mean, she may be able to get out there to get another score. I mean, this will go into her top two, feels like. There was enough strong maneuvers out there. Didn't get the finish, you know, that wave did kind of double up and split. You know, there was one big closeout move maybe she could have done, but either way, it's not going to be the 8.67 needed. Taking a look at the replay here, but just so clean on the face. I mean, the winds have been pretty much offshore all day long, but every once in a while you see there's some bumps on the face. This one did not have it. So some strong turns on that outside section. And she was on her way. It was, you know, if she could have found the barrel down in here or just some big, huge finish move, we could have talked about the 8.67. But at this point, when it splits in half like that, yeah, it's kind of over.
Yeah, the real shame is that she couldn't get a low road, maintain that speed to maybe get a turn in before the wave pitched and closed out on that inside. Because you're right, there were strong moves and good combinations on the outside, but I doubt it was going to turn in the 8.67 required without a huge finish.
Yeah, without that wow moment, really. I mean, that's what it's about, right? Those excellent scores are going to come when you all of a sudden you see something happen that you hadn't seen before, or just you know, or super creative.
Surprise, surprise, Pete. More set waves rolling in here at the moment. And our competitors just looking to get themselves well positioned. Joanne's a long way down the line at the moment, doing the slow crawl. And Tyler Wright, she just can't pass this one up. The smart move is to hold your position out the back. She has a good look at it. But without Joanne there sort of pushing for that priority, she'll maintain control here, Tyler.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that she is that far down, right? So she keeps the P next to her name, even though she made a concerted effort towards that wave. Without the other competitor having a P next to her, or at least a second priority, it's not going to shift.
A minute and 40 seconds to go here, and Joanne Defay, with big sets rolling in, is in a position to get herself into one of these set waves. So she might just get one more opportunity. We are still waiting for that last score to drop.
But priority could be, it's still with Tyler Wright. She could block her.
And she might just chip away at this requirement here with that last score. So we're waiting on that to come through, and it does look like it's going to help her chances. 6.43. So now she's after a 7.57, and sitting down the line, she might just get this opportunity just a little too far out there to tap into that one. It wasn't really hitting the reef at that point.
There is one more here.
But Tyler's going to be on it. And it's a big drop out onto that open face, straight into that first transition turn, just setting up these steeper sections of the wave. And this wave is really standing up nicely here on the inside. It's going to allow a big turn in the pocket, nicely drawn out. And will she climb up into the pocket again? She's thinking about the barrel, has a whole lot of speed. And she's going to run out in front of this one. And you could see her just let out a little scream there. Her board kind of flipped over and got a little tangled up with her at the end there.
Yeah, and I don't feel like, I mean, that was a pretty strong turn, but she already has 2 scores that are going to probably stay in the score line. So with 20 seconds left here, you know, Joanne was just hoping the ocean would give her an opportunity.
She's kind of scrambling, trying to get to that inside position to potentially swoop on one of these smaller set waves.
Does she have enough time? I mean, it's 8-5. This is it right here. Is she going to get enough time, though?
Well, with the results that she's had already this season, Joanne Defay has clinched her position in the WSL Final 5. She's going to get this wave after the hooter. It won't count. But what a job done, I guess, for Joanne Defay here, Pete. She would have liked a bigger result. She wants to maintain this position in the top 2. And she had a chance, obviously, to get closer to Carissa Moore. Well, but she's just had great form all season.
Yeah, and again, we're going to a shallow reef break in Tahiti. You know, her backhand, she's won over the shallow reefs before many times. You know, G-Land, Uluwatu. So you'd expect her to be pretty comfortable in that type of conditions.
And a quarterfinal finish will help her stave off the attack of these surfers looking to jump a few rungs on the leaderboard. But Tyler Wright is going to progress through to the semi-finals. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, the 2018 Corona Open J-Bay champion Stephanie Gilmore will take on the rookie Gabriella Bryan.
For many years, I was the one on top that everyone was trying to like take the titles from me, and it was a nice position to be in. But yeah, you start to feel people go, oh, I don't want Steph to win again because that's kind of boring. Like, I want someone else to win. Yeah, it's kind of cool now. I can feel like I'm in that position where I can be that underdog and come up and try and win. If I continually get these feelings of being excited and almost threatened as to how great these other women are surfing, then I know deep down I still want to do it. I still want to see if I can match up against the best and take it all the way to the final and win. There's no greater feeling than visualizing something and seeing the path you want to take to get there, and then actually living that moment.
The Style Master is out there, the 7-time world champ, Stephanie Gilmore. The virtuoso is going to take on Gabriella Bryan in this second quarterfinal heat. The winner will go up against Tyler Wright. Stephanie Gilmore won this contest in 2018. She's up against a rookie that has had a heat win over Steph this year at Sunset Beach, and it's Gabriella Bryan who's going to get things started here, Pete.
There you go. 2 big hacks to start this wave off. And then nice little roundhouse cutback. And look at this thing start to load up on the inside. She took the inside position over Steph in this early exchange, and it's paid off right here because look at this screamer.
Oh, man, it felt like she could have almost set up a tube ride through that section. It's super tubes here, and this wave's going to stretch out. She's out of there.
So a lot of, I mean, all the score really going to come off those 2 maneuvers on the outside, because those inside stuff, he's basically just chasing.
Well, Gabriella just wanted to get things going. It wasn't really that battle for the inside position. She just looked to swoop on the first set wave that rolled on in. Didn't quite get into it, and then picked up the second wave of the set. Steph's on the outside. She's waiting for her opportunity, and she might just be taking it. In the not too distant future, there is still some waves standing up, but here's the replay of Gabriella's first turn.
Yeah, and again, she's had that forehand hack on lock. It's been one of her go-to moves, and it's very powerful, and it's very easy to score for the judges, and she does 2 of them in a row here. So those are going to be basically the score is going to be off of all that. As you watch the replay here, finishing up, and then this wave kind of loads up all through the inside here, and there's just not a whole lot of opportunity. She chases it down the line. I mean, maybe if she'd hung back. I mean, when you're seeing the wall stand up like it is, she just was hoping to get another maneuver done at the very end. It just never came to fruition because the wave just tapered and ran off. It didn't taper, it just ran off without it.
Oh, here's Steph on the outside. We could see those sets coming from a mile away. She's going to get a chance here to answer on the opening exchange. It was a 5.5 for Gabriella Bryan. And Gilmore has a beautiful looking wall. This one seems to be standing up nicely on the outside. It's a good size. Steph looks to set up the barrel, stops on the tail, now climbs to the front of her board, gets the exit, and back up into the pocket. Nice little slice off the top there. And just so refined her approach out here, just very clean, and read that tube ride beautifully.
And advantage Steph Gilmore. You know, even though the first score goes to Gabriella Bryan, the first excellent number is going to go to Steph Gilmore.
You think that's going excellent on the very first exchange?
Well, watch this. This sets it up. This is all that time spent hunting barrels on the Gold Coast. You know, she's very accomplished in those forehand barrels, and very nicely done. Just so cool, calm, collected.
They had to go there, didn't they, Pete? 8.33. Laura Anova looking into the eye of that tube, and just that classic style coming to the fore once again.
Yeah, that was amazing. Now, what a setup. It was actually a really hard wave to read. It had a pretty weird lump in it, but Steph just read it so well, and just stomped on the tail, and it even had sort of a backwash through the tube. She got to stand tall, and just classic Steph Gilmore out here at J-Bay. She's been watching the men all day. I popped in to steal her booties to come out here a bit earlier, and she just was losing her mind watching all the men surfing. So to see her do that on the first wave was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's ominous too, because we know if Steph finishes off that first wave well, Pete, like she did in her last heat, if she finishes off that first wave and banks that big number to kick things off, she's so hard to stop. 8.33. That's just a huge confidence builder for Gilmore. Gabriella Bryan, you know, it was a reasonably positive start on a good size set wave. Would have been the biggest wave that she's ridden here at Jeffreys Bay for sure. But it was a bit of a misread on the inside. She maybe had the opportunity to get barreled too. Yeah,
it was unfortunate, because I mean, you're seeing down the line, you want to chase it, you just want to have the ability to get those maneuvers done at the end, and that's what she saw. She chased it down, but then it ran off even further, and maybe sitting back and getting just the tube to finish the ride would have been the right option. But you know, hey.
She's going to get plenty more opportunities. We were just saying during that last break, have you ever seen it this consistent?
I haven't. I mean, I've been here a few years, and you know, I came here back and compete. Actually, when this was a qualifying series event, I spent 3 or 4 seasons making a trek all the way here because of the wave. Really, I mean, it was only a 3,000 or something when they called it back in the day. So, but it was more about the experience of surfing J-Bay than it was collecting points for the QS.
You just had your eyes on events where you could wear booties.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, this has been obviously a great event to get back on the schedule for the women. And when you think about the honour roll for this contest, in the late 90s and you know, before that hiatus, Lisa Anderson, Trudy Todd, Melanie Redmond-Carr, the surfer from WA, and Megan Abubo of Hawaii winning the event 2000. Then there was the 18-year gap before Stephanie Gilmore and Carissa Moore added their names to the honour roll. But yeah, I think, you know, all the women are super appreciative to get the opportunity at this world-class venue to show just how far their surfing has come, how evolved they are, and how powerful they can be.
the schedule now going forward, I mean, you've got 2 events at the very bookending the season with Tahiti and Pipeline, and those are events where women have done events before in the past, but now it's a schedule stop, so you got to spend some time there and you got to learn those breaks.
I will say this about Tahiti though, a few of the competitors have done time at Chopes, and the lineup there not as competitive when there isn't an event compared to Pipe, so they've had their shot at getting some barrel rides, and I think they'll be a little more at home and in the zone there when we do kick off the event in August. Just under 26 minutes remaining here. 8.33 for Gilmore on that first wave, and Gabriella Bryan turns in a 5.5. And these lines just continue to load up here and run down the point. And it looks like Steph's going to maybe have another shot at one. And Gabriella passing this wave up, and Steph says, really, I'll have a go. And she's just gliding through the sections at the moment. Now gets the opportunity to sink some rail. Sort of hung on the fins through that one, driving up into the bowl, just looking for the backup score. And this is just knowledge and wisdom. There's that extra pressure that comes if you can get that backup number. It's not going to be a huge one, but it'll really grow the requirement for Gabriella Bryan here in the early stages.
Well, logically, though, that was a good choice of waves. I think it wasn't one of those major set waves, and the water was pretty clear. You know, it still wasn't the easiest wave to surf because of all the breeze. You know, the first waves of the set are going to be affected by that stronger breeze. You know, generally when you have 1 or 2 waves kind of come through the lineup, it definitely cleans it up and smooths it out. We've seen that already today. Those second and third waves can be pretty good, but the size of the wave was perfect for Steph to kind of execute and go on it, knowing that, hey, I've already got an 8.33. Let's get a backup right out of the gates here, and now she can kind of cruise.
24.5 minutes to go here. And Rosie Hodge standing by with Tyler Wright. And Rosie, we know that Tyler had the opportunity on a free surfing trip before the event came back here in 2018, and it seems that she created a pretty good relationship with this venue.
She definitely has, and Ronnie just touching on the fact that you came here on a free surfing trip. Obviously you had the illness the year after that, Tyler, but you do have such a great relationship with this place, it seems like. How has it been putting on the competitive rash vest and actually getting to compete at Super Tubes?
Yeah, it's been quite a process to get here, and honestly it's been tricky. Like, it's not as straightforward. I think J-Bay shows every flaw you'll ever have in your surfing, and it's hard because it's so fast and you have so much speed, but it's like you're going against your own instincts because you have to slow down to hit in like critical sections without being too far on the face. So I feel personally it's taken me a minute to like find my own rhythm and my own pace, and to kind of connect and be present in that my own pace in that kind of in the jersey. So it's been a process, but it's every heat that I get, I feel like I'm gaining momentum, gaining data, and my like analytic brain is just like, oh my gosh, there's so much information to go through, and then eventually you just get to a point where you're like, oh, I'm in sync, I've found it, I can just surf now. I don't feel like I'm quite at that stage yet, but hopefully working and building towards that.
You had a special win at Bells Beach. Are you feeling that same motivation to win here in Jeffreys Bay and kind of turn that negative into an amazing positive?
For me, a lot of it is what it is. You know, that's life, things happen. You know, it's a long time to build back. You know, I dropped 18 kilos as an athlete is wild, and you know, so it's taken 4 years to really like build back. I'm still 12 kilos under where I left, but that's okay. Like it's a process. I have to be really patient with myself, and like I have to manage my frustration as well, because you know, you're 24 years old in the peak of a career, and then you go kind of like 4-year gap. It's a long time, and psychologically a lot to process. So a lot right now is I have to be patient with myself. You know, where I'm at is completely different. My journey's been completely different to a lot of top athletes that were in my position. So it is a kind of, it's a challenging one, but I definitely feel in that 4 years I have grown outside of the water, and have an emotional toolkit to be able to navigate all sorts of different situations. And it's been amazing to have my partner here. It's such a special event, and yeah, like Bells, all events mean different things, but yeah, like for me, I've been trying to keep it pretty neutral, but it's pretty obvious that there's a lot yeah, you know, this is where 4 years ago I kind of disappeared for a few years. So it's nice to be back and to feel healthy and to be in a jersey, that's for sure.
Well, thanks for the insights and thanks for letting us be on that journey with you, Tyler. We'll send it back to you, Ron.
Awesome, Rosie. That was a great response to a big question. And Tyler kind of went there, and, you know, it's really cool. I think it's great to hear her say she's been patient with herself in saying that at the end. I kind of got the feeling that, you know, that the motivation's lifting with each performance. And I guess, Pete, the long shot goal of cracking that final 5 is, you know, it's with kind of becoming within reach the way she's surfing. And if she can keep ramping it up, she could get there.
Yeah, with every heat win, but she's not, I mean, obviously she's not putting all the emphasis on it, which you mentioned,
putting the pressure on.
Yeah, and she didn't, you know, obviously we like to try and pile it on.
Oh, yeah.
that's our
the job.
Right? Yeah, and then analysis-wise, I mean, she's talking about the data and how she's not feeling as though she's really processed it all enough to be able to get into the port where she can just surf. And she's still working that out, which is just amazing to me that she can even analyze that.
That's the only thing I ever focus on is what the surfing's like, because Tyler Wright has the kind of surfing that can overcome any competitor on the championship tour. We've seen it already this season. So if, you know, if she's engaged in that battle, like, and wholly committing to that goal, I think that's when it becomes very, very scary for the rest of the field. And she's got herself into the semi-finals here after a big break midway through the season.
And again, if she can, you know, overtake that, you know, in that semi, all of a sudden you find yourself in the final with a win. It's just like all of a sudden the perspective changes completely because you now are within reach in a big way. Heading to a spot that she has a lot of experience at. I mean, she's done a lot of free surfing, you know, trips to Tahiti, and she knows the wave and understands what it takes to win an event there.
Might have to borrow that emotional toolkit that Tyler's got after today. There's been a lot of action, some huge results as we get closer and closer to shoring up those positions in the WSL Final 5. Of course, that requalification story that we've become so accustomed to at the back end of championship tour seasons is gone. That's, you know, that's up to the Challenger Series now, who can break through there and get themselves a shot on the CT at the start of next season. But everyone that we've seen, all the full-time campaigners on the championship tour through this back half of the year will be there at Pipeline to kick off next season, even if they don't make the that Final 5 on screen at the moment. A competitor who had a great run in that final series last year, Tatiana Weston-Webb.
Well, and you think about her, she's
sixth and looking at making her charge here, Pete.
Yeah, and she's got, you know, number 4 in the rankings, just above her, Brisa Hennessy. So this is a huge heat for both of these surfers coming up, and Tati would know that. You know, if she wants to instill her spot in that Final 5 before she heads to Tahiti, which you would say that she would probably be a favorite going into that event. She looks good.
And in her mind, she's got to somewhat be thinking at the moment, come on, Gabriella, get this done, because she's sitting that little bit higher than Gabriella on the ratings. They both want that spot that Steph's holding on to at the moment, but Gilmore's so strong, Peter. Even on the backup number, not a whole lot of room to move, but still just the, you know, that approach, it's so refined, and, you know, that style is just never going to fall out of fashion.
No.
Gilmore is an icon.
No, it's not. And she can keep competing. I mean, you know, think about what Kelly Slater's been able to achieve. You know, here he is, 50 years of age, and he's still surfing at the top level of competitive surfing, which is truly amazing. And you know, that says a lot of these competitors that, yeah, if you want to keep competing and you focus on it and take care of yourself, you can do it.
Ducking under this one, big set rolling through, just catching our surfers out of position. Not sure they'd even really want this one. Going quite deep, bit flat out there on the outside. Some of those bigger ones, though, Pete, do give you the opportunity to get past that impossible section and find a line down the point.
Yeah, I mean,
takes you about a week to recover from one of those.
Yeah, the drawback to that, I mean, personally, I know that we do have cameras down that end, and you will get, the judges will see it, but I think the judges are understanding that they're right there at the super tube section. They're right there. That part of the wave seems to me that is the highest scoring potential. Even if you can get some stuff done down in that end section, it's just not going to have the same value by surfing up at the top of the point here.
We'll just have 16.5 minutes to go.
Great view of our judging tower there. With you see the 1 and 2, those are the priority. You know, this place is just awesome. It has, you know, TVs everywhere, so the fans can see all the replays. It's literally, you're here live, watching it live action, and then turn your head and there's a huge big screen that's giving you all the information It's really cool venue.
Tailor-made for an event setup. The main structure is just set up in the car park here. The surf check zone at the end of Pepper Street, and looks out over Super Tubes. And then Casa Corona. I mean, it's been pumping, Pete, from, you know, mid-morning right through until about 9 p.m. is when I kind of hear the stragglers leaving.
Oh, that's what's pretty cool. It's actually fairly early. You know, it's not like it goes on till midnight and then the whole neighborhood's affected. It pretty much mellows out around 9 p.m., which is great. Bedtime.
Depending on where you finish in the event.
Say again?
Italo just looks so strong, didn't he, earlier today? Got some big highlights that we're going to be running through in the WSL post-show, thanks to Corona, so don't miss that. It'll be a lot of fun. This guy's just entered the happy zone.
Oh, good. That's where he needs to be. It's where he competes the best.
Been kind of intense throughout the opening stages of the season, but with a couple of semi-final finishes and now into the quarters here at J-Bay.
Feeling good.
He just can't help it. The teeth are coming out.
All teeth.
And they're coming out in more ways than one. His attack is looking like it's got a bit more bite in it. And yeah, Italo, he'll be a hard man to stop in the men's quarterfinals. But here we go, 15 minutes to go, and Stephanie Gilmore's got the lead. Gabriella Bryan needs to make this next wave choice count. She's after an excellent score already. But you know, with her upbringing, that, you know, she won't have a problem on these bigger conditions. She's definitely got the power. She won't hold back. But she just has to get that read right through the inside, because at the moment, Steph is just doing it all too easy.
And that's really the experience, right? I think that she has the surfing ability. It's just a matter of being able to choose the wave and then also execute with the pressure that's obviously involved with surfing at this championship tour level, surfing against a 7-time world champion, all of those elements, and just absolutely perfect waves with the crowd filled up to the beach. I mean, it's an added element of pressure here that Gabby's just now coming to, you know, as a rookie, just to being able to feel.
Here she is on one of those medium-sized set waves. That's going to give her a bit more freedom to attack the bowl. And she's loading up now. A bit of foam on the face, but she'll skim past that as this wave hits green water once again, hammers the pocket, and now loading up. Has a big high line speed run through the inside here. Will she get another opportunity? It looks like she will. Just driving into this final section. Big carve there, nicely committed, really flexing on the fins. Up into the pocket again, tail drops out of the lip. And still going down the line. This wave's had a lot of potential on it, and Gabriella Bryan is really milking all the points out of this one. And this is a real leg burner as she gets right through to the inside. Doesn't really have the momentum to hit that final section, but I don't think it'll matter. Quite a bit of work done there. 8.11, it's a big number, Pete, but she might chip away at the requirement if she doesn't get the score.
Yeah, anything above the 5.5, which I think is going to be better than the 5.5 for sure. She's going to be able to cut into that number needed. I don't see it going excellent. You know, there was just too much downtime, which really wasn't downtime. You're going 100 miles an hour, but, you know, no maneuvers done through that midsection because she was really chasing it all down. So she's going to count on those 2 maneuvers on the outside, which were very strong. And then that nice finish gouge. And, you know, again, you covered, you know, hundreds of meters of seascape there just to be able to get to the finish of that wave. So well done. Long leg burner. So she's going to take this time right now just to suck in some good oxygen and refill that body, do a bit of a rest here with the ski right out.
12.5 minutes to go. We'll see a replay of that one right after the break. At the moment, though, Stephanie Gilmore still hanging on to that #1 position. She's out there with priority. Just over 12 minutes to go.
Competitive surfing has given me almost every best attribute I have. You gotta go out and have these crazy experiences, and for me it was competing on the highest level for 12 years.
She has come back reinvigorated and really sharp.
We're surfers, we never retire. You don't retire. Like, you're gonna surf till you're dead.
I love listening to music, I like collecting vinyl. I think my greatest hobby is hanging out with my mates, getting coffee, going to the cafe and just gibbering.
final.
How are you feeling?
Amazing.
Team Felipe, Team Sammy.
The Corona Open J-Bay is brought to you by Corona, this is living. Oakley, the official eyewear of the World Surf League. Hydro Flask, every adventure starts with 2 simple words. Let's go. And Expedia, official travel booking partner of the World Surf League. Welcome back to the show. Quarterfinal number 2 underway. Stephanie Gilmore has the lead, but Gabriella Bryan really chipping away at the requirement. Her last ride came through at a 6.67. Now after a 6.94. And we got a heat on our hands, Pete.
We do. You know, and Steph's got to be careful. She's got to get another solid number here because that 6.67 has cut the gap. And with 10 minutes to go, not a lot of time. So this execution of priority by Steph's got to be a good one. No mistakes, because a 6.94 for Gabby could be literally 2 turns.
Oh. That wave looked incredible. It just rolled through the lineup here. But Gilmore didn't like the looks of it. As we see the replay of Gabriella Bryan, 6.67.
Yeah, these 2 gaps on this outside section, very well done. And then this wave starts to speed up in a big way. She had to chase it down, was looking to see if she could finally get a maneuver done. There's a little bit of a check snap there. But then this wave loads up and she chases. Surprising to me that actually she was able to get around it because it looked like it was going to shut down. And she finally does at this point here. And then a very strong turn with all that speed, just gaffs it. Beautifully done. And then a nice solid finish move. So, you know, she added a good 1.5 points at the end of this ride because of all that work to get to this final section. Again, talk about leg burners. You're pressing on your board to get all that speed. It definitely burns out the legs. And she looks like she wasn't really winded. She definitely had more in the tank there, so it's good stuff there. And it's nice to be young.
Well, big set standing up on the outside. Gilmore in position. She wants to get rid of this 5.27 and get that requirement up again for the rookie. And just trying to put herself in a good spot for this one. Passes up on that first option. And there might be a little bit of foam on the face to contend with, but Gilmore trying to maybe get herself in a position to swoop on this one, Pete. And it is looking like a big stretched out wall. And Steph's got great control on these bigger waves as she drops to the bottom of this one. And flares straight up into the lip. Huge turn to get started. And just watch how clean she keeps these rails. Not a lot of pumping between those turns. Just holds those lines beautifully. So a big combo on the outside, already on her way to another good score as she looks to set up the barrel. Stalling now. Gets a little bit of cover, not super deep. But there was some good work done on the outside and probably a good chance it was better than the 5.27.
It was pretty safe to say, Ronnie, that we'll see that get thrown to the wastebasket or into the trash bin of the score line because, yeah, she's going to add some points here, and it's going to be comparable to the best wave of Gabriella's. You know, there was those big arcs on that outside, big solid set wave, clean on the face. It was just velvet. You know, again, I guess missed opportunity just by not getting slowed down enough for the barrel section, but ultimately the outside stuff done was so solid.
Yeah, I think in the previous quarterfinal heat, some of those bigger set waves pushed out. Might have had a little bit to do with the positioning. Steph was sitting nice and deep on the point at the start of that ride, but also her ability to just drop straight to the bottom and drive up into that bowl and not waste that steep wall on the outside. Here goes Gabriella now. Has a look at this one, sees that it's stretching out. It was a good decision to get out of that ride and get priority back with 7 minutes to go here, but feeling like another solid score is coming Gilmore's way.
Yeah, and it's going to be now back into that kind of excellent range for Gabriella Bryan in order to turn the heat. So noting that probably in her head because she would have seen Steph's, first couple of maneuvers on that outside section. I mean, look at this, just solid, almost, double overhead. And just so smooth and clean and just beautiful arcs from Steph. That's what she does, just velvetly smooth, digs in. That one getting that redirect, pointing the board back into the pit, which is good stuff. The judges will like that. This wave starts to foam out a little bit, and then the sets up here, she gets a little bit too quick, didn't stall, didn't put that handbrake down, strong enough, so she wasn't able to slow down. But, the stuff on the outside, super cool.
Yeah. what are these turns worth on the outside? I mean, even though she didn't get particularly deep in the tube, they were just all time, those manoeuvres, and just that extra application of pressure through that second manoeuvre. You could see it in the tail of the board.
Well, she surpassed actually the best number of Gabriella Bryan, but look at that, just that arc there, stretching that front leg, stretched out. That's commitment. And she, like, you know, opens it up. You can see the arm placement.
Also, too, just riding out at each of these turns. Steph almost, you know, like Tom Curran did on his very first wave here, redirects and points that board straight at the beach for a good amount of time. It's not quite a fade, but she is actually trying to stay as close to that bowl as possible, and it allowed the big combination, and that's why she got that score.
Came in at a 7.93. Yeah, she's doing everything she could there to stall it out, but you know, a bigger wave like that, it's tough to get yourself handbraked in there.
I think if she gets a deeper barrel, that potentially becomes the highest number of the event so far. She ducks out of that one and is now in a great position, Gabriella Bryan, after a 9.59.
Yeah, that's a huge number. Basically, it's a perfect wave. So Gabriella with 5 minutes to go, and yeah, it's really about one chance. So this has got to be the best wave she's ever ridden at Super Tube section of Jeffreys Bay. If she can do it, she's got 4.5 minutes to find it.
Plenty you can look forward to this afternoon, including maybe some last-second heroics here from the rookie, Gabriella Bryan, who's got just over 4.5 minutes to chase down a near-perfect ride to turn this heat against Steph Gilmore. Coming up next, quarterfinal number 3, Caroline Marks will take on Carissa Moore. What an exchange that'll be. And have a look at this.
That's Carissa's broken board. She's before the heat.
Wow.
That's a
Laura Enever is out there watching on. What happened, Laura?
Yeah, guys, Carissa was just paddling out, and the set came and pushed wide and just unloaded right on top of her. The poor thing, she had to bail, and unfortunately, the way she had her board, the lip landed square on top of it. She got absolutely detonated, and unfortunately, she's come up and her board is split in half. Caroline Marks, her opponent's already out the back, and just a really unfortunate event. She's going to have to go in through the keyhole and switch boards and try to get back out here as soon as possible. So yeah, it's going to be tough here for Carissa. Not the way you want to start a heat.
Not ideal at all. As we see Gabriella Bryan now up. 3.5 minutes to go. And we saw Joanne Defay in the last heat give herself an opportunity, chip away at the requirement with some solid surfing, and just give herself a chance in the dying stages against Tyler Wright. Gabriella's got to do better than a 6.67 on this wave in order to improve her shot at that lead. And there's a great turn off the top. She's got so much power, the 20-year-old.
I think she was in her mind, she's going, okay, maybe I get 2 chances here. If I take the smaller wave, I'll get 2 opportunities. I don't see that going quite to the 6.67, unfortunately, for her to close that gap. So now she puts herself in a tougher situation, as you know, Steph Gilmore now can protect that lead pretty easily.
The comparison's going to be just what Steph did on those opening 2 sections, those big turns on some of the biggest taller set waves. You know, it's going to be hard to stack up your manoeuvres if you're on a smaller ride than what Gilmore's on, because you know, she's really let go of those high impact turns on solid sections. Carissa Moore, what a nightmare start to her campaign here in the quarterfinals, but you know, it's a good thing she can sit on the back of that ski and just reset and gather herself. Her husband Luke running down with that backup board at the moment.
Well, it's interesting because she's literally, like, at this point, it's like, okay, what do you do?
There's communication happening to the tower. She's asking the question, what do I do in this situation? You know, I've busted my board, and you know, I think it would be unfair now to maybe wait for Caroline Marks, but it's unfortunate. You're not in a heat situation at this point.
What's he going to do here? He's just swimming out.
Should you be punished for
Luke's
that?
getting into his boxers. He's going for it. Do it, kiddo. Yeah, it's good support, right?
This is what the fans are asking for.
He's going out in his pants. That's amazing.
I go the underwear.
Well, Luke is a committed husband.
Dude, you can't take your pants off with the leash on. Well, now she's going to swim in. I mean, that's good. I think that's what you needed to do, is just come in, do a reset, grab it, paddle back out.
Luke's going to try and meet her out there in the lineup.
He was going for it.
Yeah, she's actually making her way in. She's going to come in over the rocks here, just right below us, Pete, here, just outside the commentary booth. She's got to get over those muscles, over those rocks. The good thing for her is the tide's quite high at the moment.
Yeah, she just needs a set to push her in. I mean, it's you know, this is what happens. Unfortunately, you break a cord, break a leash. You have to do this, but and she's capable.
Yeah, it's a unique situation though, because you know, it's not in the heat, and I don't know if Caroline Marks should get an advantage necessarily, because Carissa got worked by a big set wave prior to the heat getting underway, so they might just wait for her. But we'll see what happens. You know, I'm not sure I've seen that scenario before. And Carissa was certainly asking the question as we see Steph Gilmore here with just 30 seconds to go, locking into the tube, finding that cover. She'll get the exit. Everything done with just all the style in the world. It's a distinguished performance, Pete.
Absolutely distinguished. I loved it. You know, and Steph, the game came down to, again, just picking up a big number in the very beginning of the heat and not getting flustered, making it very, you know, blueprinted style enough, you know, to get it done. Steph Gilmore did that in a big way, and she's got herself, you know, an excellent heat score.
She was also really patient in the opening stages in identifying which wave she wanted. She let Gabriella go the first wave. Didn't get too worried about what the rookie was going to do. She made her numbers count. All four of her rides were reasonable and had great moments. But Steph Gilmore is on her way to the semi-finals, and she is going to meet Tyler Wright. What a clash that's going to be. But stick around, we've got another big quarterfinal clash just around the corner. Carissa Moore is going to be taking on Caroline Marks, and she is doing the jog up the beach. It's a marathon effort for Carissa already, and the heat isn't even underway yet.
Well, it looks like they are holding the time frame because they're not running the clock yet. But it definitely is going to make things a little bit tough when you get your heart rate up before the heat's even started. I love the kids are all following, just getting involved.
Yeah, the crowd getting behind Carissa onto the backup equipment now. Just, I think, a bit of confusion on the outside there, Pete. When she was on the back of the ski, you could see the ski driver kind of radioing the tower and asking for,
I think it's
just a bit of an update on what the situation is. But it seems like they're going to get things underway here, so they are going to start the heat. So Carissa Moore, unfortunate there. Busted board prior to the heat getting underway, but that's going to give Caroline Marks the opportunity potentially to get herself a number on the board without Carissa in the lineup.
Probably, you know, a bit confusing too, right? I mean, again, luckily there's 35-minute heats, so there is going to be lots of time here, but and you don't want to be too frantic in this situation. Just kind of pace yourself here. You know, you've had situations where you didn't start a heat off really well, right? So you're like, okay, just let me get there, take a breath. You know, she's already clinched her spot in the final five, so at least not have to worry about that. But I'm sure she would love another JB win.
We know how long the wave is, but the run always seems a lot longer to me. And, you know, I've been lucky enough to catch a wave from the top of the point to the bottom. And after that ride, it takes about half an hour to walk back. You're so gassed. So Carissa's fitness being put to the test at the moment.
She just said it. That was hard.
That was hard, but it wasn't just the run. It was the swim in. And you're also kind of paddling in with the anxiety that a huge set's going to come and mow you down and push you into those rocks. But she's going to head out now, and we'll see if she can regather herself, maintain that composure. She is a five-time world champion and one of the most winning surfers of all time. So she certainly has faced some tough situations before, and you'd back her to compose herself here. Now she's just got to hope that she gets that easy entry through the keyhole.
Yeah, well, right now is the time because there's no sets. I mean, literally, she needs to be moving because you know, within 3 minutes time, there's going to be another major set.
Well, less than that, Pete. It looks like there's some sets stacking up at the moment. Carissa Moore making her way out. We're going to go to a quick break. When we return, we'll bring in Paul Evans and Rosie Hodge for the call. The Corona Open J-Bay is brought to you by Corona. This is living. Eastern Cape Parks and Tourism Agency, official tourism partner of the Corona Open J-Bay.
Quarterfinals at the Corona Open J-Bay. It is pumping out there, and whenever the surf ramps up, the drama comes too. And of course, the top-rated surfers from this event meeting up in the quarterfinals. Let's check out that bracket. Right now, up to quarter three, we're checking out Carissa Moore and Caroline Marks. Only one of those two in the water right now. It's this woman right here, live action from her, all alone in a big stretched out lineup with some powerful big surf too. Caroline Marks getting caught at the bottom there. Unsure of the early work she got done, but at the moment, Carissa Moore with a little bit of drama she wouldn't have hoped for before her heat started getting blown up, breaking the board, a bit of confusion as to what to do, making her way in Rosie, and then a difficult re-entry back into the lineup for Carissa Moore.
That's it. As we went to break, we didn't leave eyes off Carissa, just watching her get washed all the way down by a mid-sized wave. And then that big set came, and that was a similar one that Caroline took off on. So what Carissa's trying to do at the moment is just make her way to the shoulder here at Super Tubes, get onto a ski and try and catch her breath. I mean, what a mammoth effort from the five-time world champ. Before the heat had even started, broke her board by a rogue set, had to kind of regather herself. Her husband Luke was getting ready to jump into the ocean with the board.
Looks like Carissa's making it into the lineup. Let's hear from Laura Enever's in the water.
Yeah, guys, Carissa Moore is finally on a jet ski, just going past me right now. What a mammoth effort for her. Go, Riss. Yeah, that was unfortunate. She almost actually got taken out by another set on the inside here. She was darting as quickly as she could across, but just the most unfortunate timing for her there. And yeah, she's going to be gassed for sure, but she didn't even try to paddle out through the keyhole. She just darted down to try utilize that jet ski, the Red Bull jet ski, to take her back out. So hopefully she can get back out the back, reset, and just get back into this heat.
Thanks, Laura. Absolutely bombing these sets out there. Carissa getting caught, breaking that board. Looks like she's back in the lineup though, and just with a small number to come in, so lost a bit of clock time, but Caroline Marks unable to really nail any advantage when she was all alone in the lineup, really.
Yeah, I mean, you can't help but feel for Carissa Moore. That was just such a series of unfortunate events that happened to her just back to back. Not the way you want to start a heat, but, you know, like Laura said, she's got some time now to reset, and no harm, no foul. Caroline Marks only putting sub a point on the board.
Well, the thing about champions is whenever they get setbacks, they just stand tall and come back. She's a five-time world champ. She's #1 in the ratings, wearing the yellow jersey. She's coming off the back of a win after making 4 finals this season, getting the win last time out. And now hit absolutely pumping J-Bay. She'd be up against a very tough competitor in the form of Caroline Marks. She's getting coaching from our co-commentator, Luke Egan, a part of our team here on commentary. There's a lot about backhand surfing at this wave. And Caroline, it's going to be really interesting to see how she goes out here. We've seen some of these big waves. That first quarter-final, absolutely pumping, Rosie. Our surfers were pretty deep up the point then. A little shift down and maybe a change to slightly smaller more medium waves in that last heat for Stephanie Gilmore. It paid off for Steph big time.
Oh, definitely. And I think that's what you want. I mean, the bigger waves, they just kind of wash through at the moment. You want those medium-sized waves. Even hearing from Geordie after his heat, he really summarized it so well. You've kind of got to take the sets on the head and position yourself for those little double-ups. You mentioned Caroline Marks. I mean, Luke Egan, over 30 years of experience, won events out here. It's like his second home coming to J-Bay. But having said that, Carissa Moore, she's tapped into some local knowledge again with Duncan Scott in her corner. So she knows all about this wave. She knows how to win out here. So I'm excited to see this matchup unfold.
She was watching on very keenly for the first couple of quarterfinals as well. Just scoping out the lineup, seeing where the sets were. Always prepared. However, wouldn't have been expecting a broken board and arriving late in the lineup. As we mentioned, Caroline unable to get much, so just that one wave where she did actually fall off. Caroline Marks just a really small throwaway number. Carissa Moore has second priority though behind Caroline, so she'll get another crack at this whenever a set does come through. But definitely she'll be just feeling that a little bit. Not only the sort of physical exertion of having to swim in, run around, etc., but also just that under the pressure of time, and those two kind of combined together, it actually feels like you're doing a lot more than just that physical task, because under pressure, clock's ticking away, and that's eating away at her.
Well, I think also it's for Carissa right now, it's how do I put a positive spin on this? And I think, you know, she's going to be surfing under priority, looking for those smaller size waves, and I think that can be dangerous for Caroline at the same time. Now that Carissa's been put on the back foot from the get-go, Carissa might feel like she's got nothing to lose. After going through all of that, it's almost like the worst scenario is kind of unfolded in front of her. Now it's kind of open season for her to get a couple waves and surf her best.
Getting back-to-back world titles, Carissa Moore in 2019 and 2021. And if she can go all the way this year, the first time since Steph managed to get that three-peat, 2007 to 2010. A long way back now, but loads yet to come. Of course, the culmination of this event, going down to the South Pacific as well before we go up to Trestles for the Rip Curl WSL Finals. But Carissa Moore, the outstanding surfer all season. That win was elusive though. She in a bunch of finals. We saw a bunch of different surfers winning events. Nailed that win last time out.
Yeah, that was amazing. I mean, to get that 9-5 Carissa Moore on that last exchange in the heat in Rio, you could tell it was a meaningful one for her. She got emotional, but also a fun conversation. You just put it there as, like, you know, those back-to-back world titles for Carissa, trying to go for that three-peat, but then also to get in that realm of Steph's 7 world titles, and thinking about Lane Beachley's record at 8. That is a definite possibility for someone like Carissa Moore, and probably also a motivating factor for Stephanie Gilmore to get that 8 this year.
Big performance in Rio for Carissa Moore, getting that win. She's been so dominant all season, and it did just elude her until this event. And a hotly contested final against Joanne Defay for Carissa Moore, really just a big statement of intent from her. Nailed a massive number, didn't she? And pretty much just kind of shut the lid on this one against Joanne Defay.
Yeah, just so impeccable, and just such textbook Carissa Moore backhand surfing to punch through and get that number when it mattered. And that's just so fun to see it, just having a look back at Rio and the way that she was able to capture that first win of the season. Like you said, she'd been in like 4 finals before this, and ended up the princess every time. So I think it was just such a relief to get that win, and the emotion was definitely bubbling over.
Really interesting to see surfers so decorated, so much silverware in the trophy cabinet, but how much certain different wins mean to them at different times according to the significance. A really important one for Carissa Moore. She has been dominant all season, but getting that victory coming into Jeffreys Bay, where she's always a standout. Let's see how she goes out here. She's had to be patient in this one in a variety of different ways at the moment, just still waiting for sets to come through. Caroline Marks with that priority. These two at the moment just kind of scanning the ocean for opportunities. A couple of lines heading our way. We can actually see the sets from wide, way out the back. You can see them middle, top of your screen, just making their way in here. Can't wait to see how this unfolds. And like you mentioned, how do you react to that setback, that adversity? Can Carissa Moore use it to her advantage? Let's see how she goes here. But quarterfinals would be a decent result at this stage. These kind of conditions, no one wants to finish up in the quarters.
No way. I think, you know, that's just not good enough for people like Carissa Moore and Caroline Marks. And it is so fun just watching at the top of your screen there. You do watch those sets march through, and Luke Egan was just touching on it. You can almost set a timer to when it's going to hit the super tube section once you see the indicator at boneyards, at magnitubes, boneyards, and coming through that, that next section.
Just thinking of time away from tour with injuries, unable to compete, and then coming back. Have you been surprised at how well Caroline Marks has competed, taking it straight back into it and surfed really, really well?
You know what? I don't think I've been as surprised as just so grateful to see her back. And I do think, you know, women's surfing is at this level where it's on such a steep level rise. Every event we're seeing the women just go through the roof, and I think Caroline, to maintain that pace and come back in and get a semi-final finish at El Salvador was so impressive. And now seeing her in the quarterfinals, we have this compressed field, and she's really taking it to the women.
Beautiful looking wave here for Caroline Marks. Off the bottom, on the backhand, she kind of eases the pressure off as that wave just slopes a little bit. So rather than commit to the bottom turn, she's kind of checked it and then sets up with a little clip off the heels off the top. She's going to have to be still patient here as this one just goes a little bit soft. Now it gets steeper, and there's a speed snap from her. Again, really patient off the bottom, just hooking one and going a million miles an hour. She'll finish down the end of the wave there, so unable to really commit to heavy turns, but nevertheless a pretty well surfed wave.
Yeah, good for Caroline just to go through the motions on that wave and get something under her feet. I'm sure she's going to be thinking about hammering the next wave. I don't think you can leave any opportunity open for Carissa. We know that deadly forehand. Luke's keeping a keen eye on his competitor.
We saw that in the first quarterfinal. Joanne Defay just undercooked it a bit, got a couple of bombs, didn't really commit to her turns from our sort of vantage point on dry land. It always looks easy from up here, but just maybe playing it a little safe. You can't afford to do that in the quarterfinals.
Definitely, and you're talking about our vantage points. I had an opportunity to get down on the sand and really look up at these sets, and it definitely gives you a different perspective. As soon as you get on the sand, you really feel that raw energy of the ocean. You feel that kind of rumble as these sets start to break. So, you know, it's a lot of water that's moving here at such a strong pace. You've got to think about where you're placing your maneuvers. Another thing about Joanne, oh, here we go, Carissa. Joanne has a full quiver of surfboards specifically made for Jeffreys Bay that are lost somewhere in Charles de Gaulle Airport. So, you know, she's come into this event with a little bit of a handbrake, not having the specific equipment that she would have needed for these types of waves.
We know she's headed to the finals. Despite making the quarters, she clinched that spot. Two surfers on the women's tour already clinched. Let's see how those situations unfold throughout the rest of this event. I was heading down to the South Pacific as well, to Tahiti. Cannot wait for that event coming up in August. Right now, attention's very much on South Africa and Jeffreys Bay. Carissa Moore with that priority, had a little paddle, couldn't get herself on that wave, and those nerves that were a little fraught at the start of this will just be tested further by the waiting game right now. Number in for Caroline, not a massive one. It's all right, 4-5. So maybe just a little bit under what she would have hoped for. Trying to get something on the board relatively early on in terms of scoring in this heat. Unable to really tee off on sections. And let's have a look as we see commitment to paddle from Carissa Moore. And as soon as she does the bomb turn, realizes not offering much. Thinking about that priority in the wave selection. Experience that she does have out here, realizing that wave is going to go sloping. I think that could be the story for this one.
Yeah,
really important to just pick a wave with that wall, Rosie, and I think Carissa realized as soon as she got her feet there, it wasn't going to be offering up much.
No, it isn't, and it does feel like it's just really that tide's filled in, that energy's still filling in. It has gotten quite swampy out there, so picking those medium-sized waves and that wave selection is going to be so crucial. Heard a sharp whistle as Carissa was taking off on that wave. I think it would be, you know, the people in her corner saying like, hey, that's a little bit of a dud, kick out and reposition yourself.
Have another look here. She is right in the pocket for this one. Carissa Moore, 5-time world champ in the yellow jersey, led the tour throughout this year. And I'm not sure what happened there, but just kind of lost it a little as she tried to push off the bottom part of that wave. Might have been another wave that went a little soft, but she's a little out of sorts. And what that will mean is she'll surrender priority as soon as Caroline Marks is deemed to have got to the lineup, which will be any second now. She will pick up priority again. Can she make that advantage count? Let's find out here. She heads just a little deeper. She does pick up the priority underneath that. Carissa on the inside, having a look here. So it's our third attempt at a wave and to get some kind of score. Carissa Moore looks pretty decent so far. She'll just check that through a slopey section with a little carve down off the rail, and now committing into an inside section. Carissa Moore just clipping one with speed. Looking down the line here, things will get A lot steeper for her in here. Carissa Moore, big turn from her off the top, just using all that down the line speed. There's a really nice turn. Finishes off much stronger, and that'll feel a lot better for Carissa.
Yeah, that's going to shed the nerves. That's going to shed the nerves like a second skin, and I think we're going to see it kind of eclipse that 4.5 that we saw from Caroline, because those 2 turns at the end there, I really like the quality of those maneuvers. But we'll leave that up to the judges, and we'll also get a better look at the replay.
Carissa going inside there. Caroline Marks with the priority. That wave just kind of missing that main takeoff section, and Carissa just kind of snapping it up. Talks about all her experience, pretty decent decision, and she surfed it pretty well here, Rosie.
Yeah, that roll and takeoff, it goes a little flat through this section, but she winds through it. You tell that she's just kind of getting that composure, getting her body ready to really release on this turn right here. Beautiful speed check to just set things up, eyes down the line. Lots of speed coming through this wave. Beautiful connection right there. And then this move right in that hook. So finishes up really strong. 2-turn combo looking good for Carissa. What a way to answer back through all that adversity and to make these 2 turns count. Just beautiful swoop. She's got so much power and quad strength. It really suits this wave.
Yeah, as you mentioned, that combination, it does tend to score pretty well with the judges, particularly on that inside section. Meanwhile, live action, Caroline Marks, she's in the pocket here. What she got? Mid-face right now. Just being patient, swoops down to the bottom of the wave and then aims that board up towards the lip. Hits it straight into a bottom turn. And another slightly slopier section. Now it steepens up for her. As she looks to pick up speed. She doesn't want to get left behind in here when it does get steep. She drives through an inside section. Caroline Marks being really patient still. And a little kind of swooping maneuver she would have hoped for. A little more verticality there. So again, the wave just not quite doing what she would have hoped. With that priority, she'll get a number in for that. Good number in for Carissa Moore. Speaking of good numbers, well, let's talk excellent numbers. Steph Gilmore found them in the barrel. She's with Peter Mel.
That's right, Paul. Excellent wave scores on tap for you. Very beginning of the heat. Although we saw that Gabriella was able to get in the inside position and take that first wave, you were very patient in regards to which wave you chose in that first exchange. Was that part of the process, so looking for that quality wave?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've been sitting here watching the boys get barreled all day, so it's hard not to kind of imagine yourself doing the same thing. And yeah, I was pissed off in the beginning because Gabby, I actually thought she went the first one, and it just shows you can't sort of let off the attention at all times, because I spun around to take the next one, which I thought was a really nice wave. And then there she was on the inside, and I was like, oh my goodness, that was smart. You know, she's a really smart competitor, and that's what you have to do if you want to win. But yeah, I guess I was just lucky that, I mean, there were so many sets, so many waves, so many opportunities, and I just knew if I could pick the eyes out of it and maybe get one where I could get a tube at the end, I could get a good score.
And you certainly did that. Of course, the scenario is setting up very nicely for you for that final 5. You had a couple people bow out, and now a semi-final berth. I mean, how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I knew that heat again was a really crucial heat for me. Seeing Lakey bow out yesterday, I was like, all right, I really have to capitalize on these moments. And yeah, and it's kind of, yeah, pedal to the metal all the way to the end. But right here at J-Bay, if I can get a really good result, and I'm not happy unless I'm winning an event, so that's the goal.
Okay, well, coming up against Tyler Wright in that next round.
Can't wait. Tyler's, it's great to have her back. She's missed a few events, but she's always world champion material, and it's always, great to have battles with her. And we have pretty different styles of surfing. I'm quite upright, and she's really low, and yeah, so it should be a good matchup.
I can't wait.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Great form from Stephanie Gilmore, posting big numbers, 16 point something in her quarterfinal, and a bit of a statement of intent to come into the semis, into finals day. The dominant surfer so far in this round. Let's check out Carissa Moore as she reflects on the 667 that she's already locked in. She's got an inside wave for that, so we know she's dangerous on this inside. Let's see how she goes here. This one nice and steep. She's got a load of speed to deal with off the bottom, and that one just looked like running away from her, so unable to add much there in terms of points. Just be a throwaway number for her. Caroline Marks got a couple of 4s for her efforts, and soon enough she'll also lock in priority. So Caroline unable to find much in terms of steep section so far, Rosie. She's still in the hunt for a better quality in terms of waves.
For sure. I think, you know, reflecting on that 4.43, I think she definitely had an opportunity to maybe belt that one section, and it kind of wasn't too much. She looked like she was going to tee it up and then did that kind of carve down maneuver. So let's see if she can kind of reconfigure the way that she approaches the wave.
Just revisiting Steph Gilmore there and knowing that she does need to go really well in this, hopefully get a win. That's the sort of standard she's setting almost in her own mind. Kind of makes the task not easier, but just, you know, she needs to go all the way. It's got to be relentless. There's someone that can take it that far. Let's see how Stephanie Gilmore goes. In the meantime, it is Caroline Marks at the moment with a slim lead in this one. Priority 2. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, more of this quarterfinal number 3. Got the 4th one to come too, as well as the post show. That's all coming up. It is still pumping at J-Bay. We'll be right back.
Finals day, all Brazilian semi-final for the men.
First finals.
First final.
How are you feeling?
Amazing. I mean,
Team Felipe, Team Sammy. I actually want to jump under there with you.
We are in the iconic surf town of Jeffreys Bay, South Africa, for the WSL Rising Tides presented by Pura Vida.
It's really special to just see girls coming from different backgrounds, different cultures, different ways of living, and we all have that sharing love of the ocean.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be a good inspiration, influence hopefully, and just really just having a fun surf with the girls, and that's what it's all about, and we're having fun.
You're extra fun. Like, the water is great and the professional surfers are actually cool.
It's really cool now that we're able to reach new audiences and be inclusive of everybody from all over the world. We took over the lineup, which is really cool.
Great to see both our athletes in this 3rd quarterfinal in the Rising Tides presented by Pura Vida. What a cool activation. Rosie, you've been lucky enough to be a positive influence on lots of people all over the world. How cool is that to see inspiring the youth and the next generation?
Yeah, it means so much. I just think of myself coming to this event and just standing wide-eyed looking up at my heroes, and now for those women to be surfing out there and sharing the lineup. I mean, I think all of these pro surfers have a commitment to make that positive impact, and they're doing such a good job with Rising Tides, and I know it meant a lot to the local groms here in South Africa.
As we see signals coming in from Carissa's coach, Doug and Scott there, just signaling something that's already been worked out in terms of waves coming through. That might have meant the 2nd one, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it seems like it. Yeah, just looking at those hand gestures, and here we go, Caroline.
Caroline Marks goes the 1st one, uses the priority. Quick snap from her, much more down the line pace to this wave. And she will wait patiently off the bottom. That's nice from her. Big spray, throwing buckets, straight into the bottom turn, covering ground here. Again, being a little patient through the slopey stuff, and then putting herself back with a little kind of checking snap. Swooping down once again, getting low to that board, keeping the control. It's steep here, that's much nicer from her. And she'll just wear that. So that commitment that was maybe just a little bit required, a little bit wanting from her earlier rides, she tried to show it there. Maybe a little too much, goes incomplete, but I like the sort of intent for her taking on that lip.
Definitely. I mean, great commitment from her on that inside section. Just unable to hang on, and she used her priority there. I do think that she's going to improve on those 4.43 guaranteed with those number of maneuvers that she was able to do on her backhand. Finish that off. I mean, that's going, you know, north of, I don't know, potentially excellence.
Let's see where this goes score-wise. Just a low requirement prior to that coming in for Carissa Moore right now. We reckon that'll steepen. And however this third quarter final goes, whoever wins this event, we can confirm Carissa Moore will be in yellow heading into Tahiti. Let's have another look here, Rosie.
Yeah, I mean, we had Duncan Scott kind of indicating what way for Carissa to go on, but it is Caroline Marks' priority, so she's got the pick here, and that's getting better under the hood there. She kind of bides her time, really picking her pace on this wave. Just steepens, just fattens up a little bit there, so she's kind of got to wind through the motions here as she drops down into this double up section. Yeah, there, right there, you know, that lip cascading down on her. I think if, you know, she came down with a bit more speed, she could have stomped that maneuver, and Carissa going down on the takeoff there.
So looked like that second wave of that set, Carissa attempted to get onto it, unable to, but she did get back into the lineup. Let's go down to the lineup here from Laura Enever.
Yeah, guys, Carissa unfortunately fell on the takeoff. It was quite a late takeoff and went down on the second wave of that set after Caroline got hers, and unfortunately just had to watch the next 3 sets. Perfect, beautiful J-Bay walls just roll in front of her while she had to duck dive them. So another tough situation there for Carissa, but she's got the highest wave of the heat so far, so hopefully she can just get another opportunity.
Yeah, Laura, that high score, does that seem to have settled her down a little bit? She did seem a little bit rattled by some of the drama at the start of this one. Do you think that 667 calmed her down a bit?
Yeah, I think it did, and you know, that the first wave that she actually caught in the heat was kind of a wonky one. Even that 667 was a bit bumpy at the start, but I think it was good she hung in there to just get a few turns in on the inside, and it's definitely calmed her down. She can just, you know, relax out here a bit. I think the girls are sort of choosing some trickier waves. They just need to wait for those medium-sized sets, and Carissa just saw a lot of them just then, so she knows exactly what wave she wants now.
Right, number in for Caroline Marks, and it comes in a little under 3.9 for Caroline, so unable to improve her position. She's still in the lead in this one, Rosie. 6 on the clock, but that requirement for Carissa, it is a really low number, just a 2.
Yeah, I'm sure Caroline's going to be hearing that and just thinking like, oh man, I really didn't kind of convert on that opportunity. I've got to give them more. I've got to stomp these waves and go a bit more vertical, but get a bit more critical on these waves.
Been a little bit unlucky as well, you got to say. Maybe being slightly safe on slopier waves, and her scores a little sort of compressed by that, and then she did take a big risk on a great looking section, and that thing just galloped with intensity down on her, unable to get that completion there. So with the lead at the moment, but it is a very flimsy one. She needs another wave, that's pretty certain, because Carissa Moore can get a 2 on basically anything out here, and we're not loads of time left on the clock, getting down 5 minutes and 15 seconds remaining. A spot in the semis up for grabs here. I wonder who's this going to mean more to in terms of the context of the season. Carissa's already locked in. She's good. She's going to wear yellow going into Tahiti. She's going to Trestles for the final. Caroline Marks probably out of that conversation for the final 5. Maybe not mathematically, but just with the amount of season that she's missed. But I wonder how much that means to her to get into this semi-final and really kind of roar back to match that performance that she already dropped in El Salvador and also in Brazil.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to kind of analyze, because you think about the competitive nature of both of these women, how much this win would kind of mean to Carissa to go back-to-back in an event like this. She is the defending champ, but then Caroline, she's missed so much of the season. I'm sure there's a lot that she wants to validate herself and really see herself back up in those rankings. She has finished up runner-up in the world previously, so I definitely think it'll be a huge confidence boost for Caroline to take out this heat win, to take out an events win. So yeah, it is interesting to analyze. I think both these women are just as hungry for a win.
Well, we talk about the different views we've got of the lineup here at Jeffreys Bay. Our judging panel got a pretty good view, but just slightly going one up on them is Strider Wazalewski. He's on top of the tower. Strider.
Yeah, well, high tide. I want to get up high. Everybody on the beach has basically been dismissed. Everybody's had to get off the beach and went up onto the boardwalk, and I've come up here on the very top just to get a look at what it looks like up here, and it's simply amazing. You can see all the way from one end to the other end of the bay, and out the top there at Boneyards, you can just see massive sets rolling around the corner, and from the lineup, you'd be able to see that, and you'd be able to see the waves coming down from up there, and you'd be able to gauge how big and what was coming, and you'd really be able to identify everything that was coming through here. It's one of those luxuries, you know, some places you don't really know what's going to happen or what's going to come down the line. Here, you've got a really good idea, and you could even kind of pick your waves and choose which ones you think are going to be the best as you can see them coming from way up high, because as the angle hits up there, they'd be hitting around the same time, you know, down below, just in like probably 25 seconds, maybe 30 seconds, and you'd really be able to gauge everything. So the vantage point from up here is just absolutely amazing. Looks like there's some massive lines out the back, but, you know, we're looking at, I don't know, I'd say about a minute and 20 before they get here. You can kind of just do math and try and figure it out. It's pretty fun.
Well, mate, speaking on behalf of the Goofy Foot Union, what does Caroline need to do here? She has got a lead at the moment, so at the moment she's okay, but it's a flimsy one. She hasn't really been able to access the scale here. What's she got to do?
You know, I was listening to the athletes talk about it, and you know, it's a really a rough decision to make out in the lineup. Finding that right wave that's hugs the point the right way. You know, there's these big, huge sets that do come, and those aren't the ones you want. You want to find that medium-sized set that hugs the point and has a lot of wall on it, but not too much, because you need to actually get some turns done on it. But she's got the ability. She just needs to, you know, settling in and really using both of the whole rail line into that wall and just deep driving off the bottom and doing the same thing up into the lip. She'll find those lip line turns that she needs. Carissa's got that heavier foot. I feel like she's got, you know, the rail engaged a little bit more, so she's much more of a rail surfer than I think Caroline. Caroline's more of a back foot heavy surfer, but she can also transfer the weight to the front foot to find that rail line and set it in just deep enough so that she can really slice through the water and find that speed up into the lip line.
Thanks, mate. Nervous moments these final 90 seconds. Caroline Marks, despite being unable to get out the fours at the moment, leading this one. Priority with Carissa Moore, and a clutch moment, a key decision here. She's steep on this one. Let's see how she goes. 5-time world champion, uses priority, just needs a 2. Carissa Moore, big first venomous snap from her at speed in a critical part of the wave, and another nice carving maneuver, puts her down at the bottom, and again on the rail, really nicely done. If she is feeling any pressure, she's not showing it, she's releasing it in the best possible way, and completes that wave. Some really nice turns, those clean rails as well from Carissa Moore, and you dare say she's well on her way to a 2 with that, Rosie.
Yeah, I think there's two kinds of mindsets. When you hear a number that you require, you can oftentimes surf to that, and hearing a small number like a 2.26, Carissa could have safetied her way through that wave, but she's not that type of surfer. She really wants to make a statement and push that requirement out of reach for Caroline. I think she's got a lot of respect for what Caroline's capable of, so she really wants to put her best foot forward and get up into that score range that'll make her feel a lot more comfortable.
Try to die in seconds here. Looks like we got some sets approaching.
Yeah, 100%. We are going to see another answer from Caroline Marks. We've got 2-3 big lines out the back. Looks like she's going to take a look at this first one. She's not inside far enough, but this next wave looks like it could be unbelievable. I mean, it's just intense, winding right down to the final seconds of this heat. Oh, what a bummer. She's not gonna get it.
Caroline Marks unable to get on. She was slightly too far outside for the first wave of the set and just ran out of time for the second one. She would have loved to have a crack at that score. Unable to get it though.
She missed it.
So Carissa Moore with a heat that was full of drama and incident there, Rosie, but managing to get it done and gets a big number right at the end as well. The 7.83 for Carissa Moore. And she's through to the semis.
That's right. What a champion. I mean, for Carissa to swing back after that adversity and that really tough start to the heat shows what she's made of.
Well,
she looks tired.
A bedraggled and tired Carissa Moore. She comes in and she'll debrief on that and come back to surf in semi-finals. We're going to go to break as we admire the beautiful rail surfing of the 5-time world champion. Quarterfinal number 4 featuring Brisa Hennessy, Tatiana Weston-Webb, coming up after the break.
Before this, I really wouldn't talk about it, but I think mentally as athletes, we really go through recovery periods, and I didn't realize that I was in a big recovery period. Last year was a lot of pressure for me, and I've never been under that sort of pressure before, and it was really hard for me to lose the title. At the moment, I'm just trying to give myself grace and giving myself the time to, I don't know, set up other goals. My goal is the top 5, and once I get to the top 5, I'm sure at that point in my year, I will be ramped up enough to have the title as my goal. But at the moment, I just want to take things slowly.
High stakes means big pressure situations, which surfers can deal with it and be in the final 4 for the Corona Open J-Bay. We've got 3 of those decided as we check out our bracket here, Rosie. And a great looking matchup in our 4th quarter. Brisa, who was so strong early on this season, taking on Tati, who had an amazing season last year, came really close. What a great matchup.
Such a great matchup. I mean, all of these women have been so consistent this season, and it really is a knife edge of who's making into that final 5. I love listening to the headspace that Tatiana's bringing into this season and how much she's grown as a competitor after the experience of last year.
Carissa Moore there, breathing all sorts of sighs of relief for different reasons. Always one to stoke out the fans, a massive fan favourite wherever she goes. And she'll be delighted to get through the finals day. Could be tomorrow. Got to come along and see what things look like. But we had a little appraisal from Jordy Smith earlier. It was, you know, maybe thinking about the win, but certainly looks like the swell's coming back tomorrow, and it's still out there in the water this evening.
Yeah, definitely. We've got beautiful waves on offer, and I think everyone's been saying it. We'll wake up tomorrow, we'll check it, and we'll assess what's on offer.
Live action, great looking wave here for Brisa. Really nice turn from her as she just checks that speed with a snap. And then off the bottom, and again, just engaging that rail, digging in hard into the wall, but making sure she maintains velocity down the line. And a really nice looking wave offering up a section here for Brisa. Again, just jamming that on the rail, releasing sort of 3/4 of the way through the turn to throw up the spray, pulls that one shorter, and again, trucking down the line still. Another turn from her with a little more whip to it. Relatively similar kind of maneuvers. A great way to start things off.
Yeah, great way to start things off. And you think about the locations where Brisa's had success. You think about Sunset Beach, the raw power that's there. You can almost draw a couple comparisons heading into Super Tubes and thinking about how much this wave would suit Brisa.
So using that experience that she has, would love to recreate that winning feeling she got at Sunset Beach early on. Brisa Hennessy threw those points up early and has been a little chased down. She'll have that slightly sort of hunted feeling about the way the rest of the pack's been coming back at her. We talked about how many different winners we've had, and it's so competitive and so intense. She would love a big result here. Getting a good start in this, though, and after seeing how that last quarter-final went down with some missed opportunities and not a lot of points thrown up early, a great way to kick things off. However, take a look at this set.
Yeah, this one looks like it's going to close out the whole lineup. So the women going to have to be taking a couple sets on the head. I think Tatiana's going to be a little bit bummed that she didn't get an opportunity before those sets came through. You get kind of washed out of the takeoff zone. But it's so cool to watch the whole season unfold in front of us and think about this top 5 picture. It's just given everyone such a good focus at every event. Every heat really matters for these women to stay inside that WSL top 5 picture.
Looking to try and maybe see if one of these can double up for her. That first one broke way outside of it. She kind of checked her paddle out and just sort of waited. And then that last wave went into a little bit of a hole, as does the third one too. Tatiana Weston-Webb will just have to remain to be patient, and she won't much enjoy the news coming from our beach announcers that good numbers come in for Brisa. 7-1-7, great way to kick things off. And in terms of those nervous moments, last quarter final, a lot at stake, end of a big day, watching the guys surf all day. How good is that going to feel for Brisa?
Well, that's such a good foundation. And I think, you know, that really just kicks things off on the right foot. When you start with that good score, we've seen it throughout the day. People that have really had a positive first experience on their wave have gone through on the rest of the heat and been able to build on that. So Brisa here really locking into some Super Tubes goodness. Leaning on that rail. The equipment looks so good from her, and I love the approach where she never fully extends her body. She's always crouched down, able to really negotiate through those lumps and bumps because she's kind of like a spring. She absorbs all the energy and then is able to pounce at the lip when it presents itself. going through the motions there. You can see there's that chatter on the face of the wave. You can just tell there's a bit of vibration moving through her board. So she's got to kind of really negotiate a lot of water up the face.
Identifying the sections, dealing with all that motion from the surfboard and able to express herself with some big turns, some big spray. A good number. Meanwhile, live action, hooking under the lip. Tatiana Weston-Webb on the backhand. Let's see how she gets around this section here. If she does, she's got a nice steep wall in front of her. Goes up with a snap in the lip, and again, straight off the bottom. This one hollowing right out. Tatiana, critical turn from her, and she loves it. So a great way to reply from Tatiana Weston-Webb, and that wave. We've seen some of these have those kind of slopey sections part of the way through. That one just seemed to gather momentum and steepness throughout, Rosie.
Yeah, so well surfed from Tatiana. You know, almost similar kind of scenario where she does keep that low center of gravity and is able to absorb a lot of the speed bumps along the way. Really like the way that she read that wave for Tatiana. It was a bigger wave too, had a lot of scope down the line and able to project out and stay on the open face. So cool looking ride from Tatiana. Let's get another look at it. Look, way overhead for Tati. She holds onto that rail line, scoops under the hood there, almost gets guillotined. She manages to maintain her way around that powerful whitewater, hooks it there. Beautiful maneuver choice there, and then kind of hooks it up again. So, you know, it's so tricky to really meet that lip line, and you almost get pretty much compressed. But Tatiana, this move right here, just staying in that third, bringing it around, staying close to that whitewater section, gives her speed and release. Watch that eye-line as she's figuring out where she's going to place this maneuver, decides to go under the lip, gets a bit of a weightless feeling there. That almost loses that footing. So very impressed with Tatiana. I wonder what the judges are going to make of it.
Great aggression from Tatiana, and she loves it. We'll wait for the scores to lock in. A penny for the thoughts of a 5-time world champ. Carissa Moore is with Peter Mel.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Wow, what a start to that heat, huh? But before you even started, you had a broken board. I mean, how did you reset after all that?
It's pretty hard to reset after something like that happens, but you know, I was listening to the school. I ran up to the beach, and luckily, like, my whole team was there, my husband, my little sister, Duncan, and they're all like, you know what, it's okay, you're gonna have a 25-minute heat now, but just get back out there. And I was like, okay, breathe. So much happens during a heat, and like the announcer said, it's Mother Nature. Our canvas is always changing, so you just have to adapt and reset the best that you can. And it helped that Caroline hadn't really put a score on the board, so I was like, okay, we're just kind of starting from scratch.
Well, yeah, it's settled down. It's all good, right? You're still fired up. But, I mean, the performance came afterwards, though. I mean, literally that last wave was just magic.
Thanks so much. Yeah, time was winding down. I was just like, okay, I needed 2. So if I can do a turn and a half, hopefully I'll get the score. And the wave came and just allowed for some nice turns, and I'm just grateful.
Yeah, well, and great job out there. You're going to keep that yellow jersey heading into Tahiti. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Well, she certainly wasn't surfing for a 2, got a 7, and finished off showing no signs of being unsettled or any of the drama that came before that. Carissa Moore just showing her quality in her class as a champion, and through the semi-finals here. Who's going to join up in that second semi? It's one of these two, and this is already an epic quarter, because a big number in for the goofy out in the water right now. The Brazilian Tatiana Weston-Webb, 7.83, Rosie.
Yeah, I like that. I like that for Tatiana, because it was just committed surfing. I mean, she really had to make the decision to snap under the hood. She could have got really axed on a lot of those sections, and she just maintained composure and really attacked it. Here's Brisa's answer back.
Another great looking wave for Brisa Hennessy, just controlling that with the grab rail high line, and then hooking on a really steep wall. Brisa looking for a score here to go with her early work of a 7.17, and this wave has set up pretty sweetly. So already good quality in this heat, and she's going to need more of that, because it's been a strong reply from Tatiana. Brisa Hennessy on an inside now, looking for a section in here. She's looking around a little bit, and she'll see a lip. It goes into a little layback, kind of off the lip maneuver. Really well done from Brisa Hennessy. That wave maybe just relented a little bit towards the back end. She picked a good maneuver and nailed it.
Yeah, really, really like the way that Brisa is able to read these waves, and also a surfer that looks good on a bit more length than a surfboard. You know, that she's got that rounded pin and just leaning on every inch of that surfboard, and it's looking good under her feet. And yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing from both of these women, and the contrasting styles are fun to watch and compare.
Looks like these last couple of waves are really sort of focused on the same part of the point here, and they've had some nice steepness to them, and surfers able to capitalize and turn that into points.
Yeah, they've had really a great read on this lineup and which waves to pick. Cool to see Brisa just winding through these turns. You know, Brisa's she's pretty small in stature when you see her on land, so to see her on a wave that's got this much power in her to just really lean into these maneuvers and give it a lot of oomph is so fun. You know, she came here in 2019 to compete, and I don't think she had the success that she was capable of, so I think she wants to rectify that and really get stuck in here at J-Bay.
Another surfer has really stepped up her game on the championship tour after having to go back and re-qualify a couple of years back, winning an event this year in Hawaii and just really putting her name in contention for that final 5. A lot of that conversation has yet to come. She'd love a semi-finish here. Just flip that over. Think about Tatiana Weston-Webb. She's such a confidence performer. She's got a little scent of blood here. She's almost gone into the excellent range. I can't wait to see her next wave.
Yeah, definitely. And you think about both of these women's career, they've been pretty contrasting. I mean, Tatiana, she was in the conversation for the world title last year. Brisa had to go back on the Challenger Series and really back herself to be in the mix for this season. But now Brisa, with that win and really putting her name forward to be a title contender, it's fun to see her rise to this challenge and being one of these people that are so amazing to watch.
Set steaming in here. Strider, what are you seeing?
Yeah, the biggest set of the day. You can see it coming from miles away, and it's just arrived. It's just too much water for the spot. I'd say there's just too big of a swell. It's just gone right outside of the reef, and it's just when the height of the wave, you know, doubles the bottom. It just doesn't happen, you know, and it just there's not enough shelf and reef out there to actually make it stand up as a complete wave. So it's just really unfortunate, but it's tough for the surfers in the water, having to deal with all that, having to duck dive, having to deal with going under all these waves, and then cat and mouse to get back in to where they think the takeoff spot would be. So that would be the challenge right now, is to, after you go under these massive waves, getting back into the reef and kind of gauging your distance from, say, the bluff or Sharon's house, or having a point of reference that you actually use to find yourself a gauge of where you think those good waves are going to be coming in, along with the tide hitting a high. So that's going to change where the other waves would break as well. So there's so many little factors going in as these massive sets roll in. They said it was going to peak this afternoon, and it's doing just that.
All right, thanks, Strider. And a big set just steamrolled this lineup, put a bit of white water through it too. These two will now just reposition and recover and look to reset and get themselves on a wave. Already good numbers in for each of these, going 7s in the opening exchange. The backup for Brisa slightly more modest, the 5.5 for her. Just a reflection in the fact that that wave was steeper at the beginning. She's unable to get a really, really strong finish. She surfed it pretty well, but not as good as her opening wave. And Tatiana Weston-Webb does have the high score, second place right now. The requirement is under a 5. I don't think she'll be surfing to that requirement. She wants another one of those 7s or better, Rosie.
Yeah, that's always in Tati's mind frame, is getting up in that excellent range and really shutting the door on her competitor. We saw her get a little bit steamrolled by that set, just getting, you know, 2 steps forward, 4 steps back at this moment with that that swell, that tide. There's a lot of variables to contend with. We always know that with surfing, but especially when you're seeing a lot of energy converge with all this water moving around.
Yeah, really interesting to think about the role that Tatiana Weston-Webb has played with her performance last year in the Rip Curl Finals, and talk about all those different winners we've had this year, and going back thinking, you know, with Steph and Carissa and Tyler really just in contention for those titles, and everyone else just kind of let the chasing pack and going so close. Tati, I wonder if that had a little bit of a knock-on effect to the other women in the field, and they've all said, you know, there's opportunities here, and it's turned to fruition this year with such a diverse range of winners.
Definitely. I think, you know, the women's tour has just evolved so much. We have seen for over a decade 3 women hold court. So it's so fun to think about the title conversation and who those new contenders can be, and how they're really pushing the sport of women's surfing. And it's an open field at the moment, especially with this new format with the Rip Curl WSL Finals coming up in September. That was so fun to watch unfold last year. And I think whoever was in that situation situation, they've learnt a lot from what happened last year. So it's always fun to see, you know, how everything comes to fruition.
We've been checking out clips from the Make or Break series as well, and it's really interesting to see some kind of behind-the-scenes stuff that maybe we don't necessarily pick up on the broadcast. Tatiana, such an intense competitor, and doesn't seem to be too worried whether she's particularly liked by her rivals, because they are rivals and she wants what they've got.
Yeah, and it's her job, right? Like, this is her bread and butter. This is what she's working towards. So it really isn't like about making friends in the water when you're competing. You know, you leave that on the land, and I think Tati embodies that kind of feisty spirit, which is so cool. I think it's refreshing when you see someone who's unapologetic about how competitive they are, because every single person on this tour is hungry. All of these women, I mean, they'll be humble on land, and that's a beautiful thing, but once they hit the lineup, they are so fierce.
Just under 17.5 to go in this. Brisa just having a little tentative look on an inside wave. Priority remains with Tatiana Weston-Webb. Does have that 7.83 locked in early. Since then, she's been happy to be patient. She's been steamrolled by a set. She's definitely identified the kind of ways she wants to go on. We'll see some more lines approaching in here. We're just wrapping up a massive day of competition. It's our 20th heat of the day. It's been entertaining throughout. And someone who's ever entertaining is Caroline Marks, who's with Peter Mel.
Hanging out with Caroline Marks here in the Red Bull Athlete Zone after a tough loss. I mean, the beginning of the heat looked like it was going to be magic for you, considering Carissa wasn't even in the lineup. How do you deal with a situation like that?
Yeah, for sure. You know, paddling out when it's this size and this high tide is really tricky. The difference between timing it and not timing it is, yeah, a huge difference. So I knew that was a huge opportunity, and it was a big missed opportunity for me, and I think I was sitting a little bit too far out. And before the heat, there was a lot of big sets, so I kind of just thought, oh, it's kind of pumping out here. And there was a couple sneaky little ones that I could have definitely, you know, taken, and I just went way out the back and took off on a big one, and it was pretty bad. And yeah, there's a few things that Luke and I talked about before the heat that I should have done out there, and I kind of just blew it, and felt a little bit lost out there and a little bit lost on the waves. So a lot to learn from, and yeah, it sucks for sure because the waves are pumping and I want to surf again, but a lot to learn from.
Love it. That was a great work out there, though, and you've been incredible since you've been back from injury. So good job.
Thank you.
All right, Caroline Marks there reflected on a loss in a dramatic third quarter final. We've just seen vision of Tatiana Weston-Webb on an absolute bomb of a wave. Just kind of struggled with the takeoff, but recovered well and got an absolute banger of a turn in, a really big wave in a critical section too. So just the one real kind of big turn for her, but let's see how it pays off with our panel, Rosie.
Yeah, I mean, watching this takeoff, she does have to contend with a lot, then springs to her feet over there. Kind of sets her up to really wind through these turns, though. I didn't mind that she kind of had that downtime. See that board chattering off the bottom there. This is one of the bigger waves that we've seen. She's lucky this one didn't go too far out to sea. We've seen them kind of fatten up, but this thing had a bit of meat on the bone for her to get into. Like you said, she has this maneuver right here. Beautiful swoop under the hood. Very dramatic finish. So 4.84 required. I think she's going to go something similar to that, 7.83. I don't know. This is such a well-surfed wave from Tati, and look well overhead. Cool
Almost
to see these women
disappeared,
charging.
didn't she, under the lip on that final snap. You see, she's pushing pretty hard here, and what that actually does is just puts her where she wants to be in the white water to be able to kind of attack from behind on this final section.
Definitely, and you see her feet, like as she's going through those kind of ribs up the face, her feet are kind of like shuffling on the board, not intentionally. So she's got to really regather herself as she gets this final section. Very dramatic as those fins disengage and she gets that weightless feeling through that lip line. Definitely going to be the number she needs.
A really strong finish on a bit of a shaky start on that wave. And our judges will check that out and give her a number. She has a little moment of reflection on the back of the ski. Just over 14 minutes and 15 seconds to go in this one. That looked like a little word there with Laura Enever out in the water. Tatiana Weston-Webb, well, a good number coming her way. Could be, well, it's real close to excellent. It's in. And just as you thought, similar to her first wave, a slight improvement, 7.93. That's huge.
Yeah, she's going to be hearing that. She's kind of listening to what the beach announcer's telling her.
So a good total posted by Tatiana Weston-Webb now, 15.76, and a big requirement on the Brisa Hennessy. Costa Rican with priority, looking for that 8.59, so she'll need to go quite a bit of an improvement from her first and high score. And Tatiana Weston-Webb, we talked about the fact that she's confident, she's got the aggression, and she's not afraid to take on the big sections. And even though she's a little out of rhythm on that wave, that can go a couple of ways. We've seen surfers at JB get your feet a bit wrong, or maybe you miss a section a little bit and it all goes a bit wrong. She just cleaned it all up and attacked at the end.
Yeah, that was nice from Tati, and I think that's something that we know about her. She's not afraid to go for it in the bigger sections. She's definitely someone that rises to the occasion and waves the consequence. So she's not flustered if those feet are moving around, and she's got to. She never second guesses herself as she's going into a maneuver, which was nice to see on that last wave. Brisa, she's, you know, as we've watched these quarterfinals unfold, I think the high mark has been Steph's 8.33, and she needs to eclipse that kind of number with an 8.59. Let's see if she can do it on this one.
Well, here she goes, another nice looking wave for Hennessy, swooping back on the rail. And she'll just set up there with a little clip, and she's eyeing up a section here. Hennessy goes into a nice snap just underneath the lip. Not as critical as maybe she would have hoped for. There's just a little bit of slopiness to it as this wave pushes down the line, and she tries to kind of snap just to put herself back into the pocket. And it's a little bumpy in here. Let's see what she goes for a finish. It could be important. She pulls in into a meaty section. Hennessy completely disappears in a J-Bay cavern. Doesn't find an exit.
Yeah, that was impressive to pull into that section. I mean, we know that this is you know, that reef break, but you're also seeing a lot of that sand pulled through on these sections. We've seen a lot of board snaps. You know, the thump that this wave carries. So Brisa probably getting rinsed on that one.
Just wearing that on the inside there. There's this powerful white water, just kind of holds her in and drags her back a little bit. And she'll go with that sweep just to push herself a little wide into the channel. Meanwhile, out the back, another great looking wave for Tatiana Weston-Webb, your heat leader. She's got a spring in her step, the tail's up here, bang, hard into the lip. Nice and vertical, won't get a completion. But the fact that Brisa Hennessy is all the way down the end of the point will mean, what should mean that Tatiana can get out the back, regain that priority. Let's see how she goes about doing that. But again, we talked about the aggression. She's going to take risks here. That kind of surfing is going to be rewarded. Big points already on the board for her. We can go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up our fourth quarterfinal at the moment. This woman in the ascendancy. Can Brisa Hennessy come back? Find out right after the break.
I love the aspect of like bringing people together through food and just sitting at a table and talking about life. And I think that's really enriching to me because I really believe like we're here for connection.
Yes! First finalist!
First final.
How are you feeling?
Amazing.
Team Felipe, Team Sammy.
Weston-Webb doing the work here.
Girls like myself and Joanne going to those power maneuvers because that's what the judges like to see. It's aggressive and beautiful at the same time.
Little flashes of glamour.
Tatiana, she's been chipping away at the likes of Carissa, Steph, Tyler for the past few years. Now I feel like she's got confidence in herself that she belongs there. She's an intimidated one bit.
Tati Weston-Webb in command of this heat.
I'm an aggressive competitor. I gotta be stone cold and ready for anything.
The aggression paying dividends in our fourth quarterfinals. Tatiana Weston-Webb, a strong lead over Brisa Hennessy right now. And a big task for Brisa, 8.59 the requirement. Tatiana Weston-Webb identifying some bombs. And the backhand weaponry looking pretty sharp. Good number, close to the exit range early on and improved on that further. Even though she kind of stood up at the bottom of the wave on her second score, turned it into big points, pretty much double overhead, Rosie. We talk about the risk-taking that she's able to do, and at this level, particularly when you get towards quarterfinals, safe surfing's not going to get you there.
No way. There's, especially with how the women's tour is shaping up, every heat really matters, and Tatiana is just so tenacious. Look at her, just digging deep to get out the back to find another wave. We're seeing more sets. I mean, it's so relentless out there. It's insane, the sets that we've seen come through. If you had taken a quarter of this energy and sprinkled it into some of the tour stops that we've seen prior, everyone would have been stoked. This has just been action-packed day, 20 heats, 16 heats yesterday, and we're gearing up for a great finals day.
Yeah, it looks like she rode a little wave. That's why she fell on that wave. It looked like she was going to make it back out before the break, get priority. It looks like she rode another one for just a small score, the throwaway of a 3. And Brisa Hennessy will gain priority now. It's been awarded to her. She's in the lineup first, so Tati having a little battle, unable to get the prio. Brisa, an opportunity in terms of first choice of waves. That requirement, though, the 8.59, it's big. You mentioned that solid score from Stephanie Gilmore, finding the tube, who looked very comfortable out here, really performing in these conditions. That's what Brisa's going to need to do in the closing stages of this one. It wraps up an incredible day of competition, and there's all sorts of things in surfing. We kind of try not to look too far ahead. Wind, all sorts of things. Today it has been basically flawless all day, Rosie.
Yeah,
what a day.
we deserve this. I mean, we totally deserve this as the athletes, but as surf fans, we love to see pristine conditions. I think having this event, the last time it ran, 2019, having 3 years off, to finally see this happen, see everyone on the beach light up and come down and really support this event has been super fun. So, you know, I'm biased, but this is my favorite stop on tour. So I'm just excited to see everyone greeted with great conditions.
A really enjoyable day of competition. Not over yet. Still got 6 minutes and 40 going to decide our 4th semi-finalist, who's going to meet Carissa Moore in the 2nd semi. At the moment, it looks like a rekindling of that matchup with Tatiana Weston-Webb. Of course, those two did a great battle at Trestles in the Rip Curl Finals last year. It looked like to be matching up in the 2nd semi at the moment. But Brisa Hennessy, you know what she can do. We talked about that win. She's already able to gain the powerful right-handers of Sunset Beach. 8.59 the requirement here for her. Sets coming in. She's no stranger to powerful, juiced-up surf. And she's going to need to find herself a bomb. And she's going to need to go on the attack a little bit. Those carving snaps that she's able to do on her first wave, a lot more where that came from, really, Rosie.
Yeah, definitely. As we're seeing more lines coming through, is there going to be a medium range one that's going to hit the reef just right for Brisa to do that brand of surfing, to get into the excellent range?
Getting in a position here is Hennessy. This looks like a really nice wave for her. Tatiana's asking the question by having a paddle. Here it goes. Hennessy driving off the bottom with loads of speed. First committed turn on the rail. And again off the bottom, pushing it. Just pulling that one short because this section is motoring down the line. Brisa with a load of speed here. And she's going to need to go on the attack. Nice layback jam just underneath the lip. But maybe just lacking that kind of verticality to the surfing relative to that big score she needs in the excellent range thus far. Taken on a lip at the end, arriving a little bit late, not super convincing. She'll go down.
Yeah, a little bit off kilter as we see Tati, 2nd wave of the set, shaping up nicely.
Weston-Webb with a load of speed here. Look at this section for a hard off the bottom. Really nice whipping carve under the lip at speed again. Just dragging that tail and those fins through a really powerful motoring lip. And loads of whitewater here. She'll deal with it pretty well. Tatiana has gone a long way down the point here. She might get another section stand up here. Weston-Webb, another big turn for her. And she's in rhythm on this wave. She's really centered on that board and does really good work. So going close to the excellent range of the first couple of numbers. And it looked like she got the advantage in that exchange as well. Brisa will be disappointed to be unable to finish that wave.
Yeah, that was tricky for Brisa to turn around after that priority and taking that first wave. But whoa, I'm looking at Tatiana and you're like, she's going to hit it. Like the section's coming, she's going to hit it. She's got a lot of speed. She's just so unafraid to attack the wave. Really fun to watch. I kind of got like sweaty palms watching that one, just seeing what she was going to do. Brisa, she had a front row seat to watch Tatiana get to work on that one. I wonder if Tati's going to extend her lead. I don't think Brisa's going to get the score that she requires. So yeah, fun to see how the judges see this linking up. And Brisa right here, utilizing that priority. You see that Tati really pushed the issue, selling her on this first wave, which was a nice looking wave, but she was almost out in front of it a little bit too much the whole way. You know, as you get pushed out to that face, you can only really go to kind of those lateral maneuvers. That right there was my favorite move on that wave from Brisa. I mean, such good surfing, but just not critical in the pocket enough, I think, for the judges to reward it with an excellent score. And then obviously getting axed on that last section, that doesn't feel too good. And Tatiana right here just swoops through and stays projected, a lot of speed. She never burns off her speed as she goes for the next maneuver, which is so cool. She kind of projects out into it. Another swoop there as this wave gets a lot of froth up the face, but she does so well to have that composure, hang on that lip line. That's where I thought she was going to belt the section. I was like, wow, that's going to be insane. But she kind of goes around it, but still looks for more on this inside section. She finds a little connection there. And she keeps going, winding through this wave. Doesn't get that dynamic move on the inside section. But cool to see her. I mean, look at that bottom turn, that fundamental. That was Aki-esque right there. Wow, just such solid surfing from Tatiana. You could tell she's got so much confidence in her equipment. That sharp eye looking so good and comfortable under her feet.
Big smile on her dial as well. It's super aggressive, but she's enjoying herself at the same time. She is loving this absolute classic wave in full flow. Weston-Webb attacking so hard. Look how far that back foot is on that tail pad. She's right in the power zone. She's looking really comfortable indeed. And the judges, well, they loved it. 9.27 in for Tatiana Weston-Webb, a massive number. That's why she's smiling, Rosie.
Oh, man, that was just so well rewarded and just such good, solid surfing from Tatiana. Just not holding back and surfing with a lot of flow and connectivity. That's a word we've been using throughout the day. It seems like Tati is tapping into some of that.
She's so dangerous when she's like this, full of confidence, plenty of wind in her sails, and in full attack mode. It's big and powerful out there. There are some meaty sections. They're steep, and they're also moving at pace as well across the reef. Tatiana Weston-Webb has been very much a match for them. As we look at this vision of sets just steaming through here. Had a little bit of a surge up on the beach for our spectators who are just taking cover right now. And what a sight this is to behold, Rosie. J-Bay absolutely cooking.
It is. It's been such a glorious day, but also thinking, I mean, it's safe to say with 1 minute remaining that Tati's going to be into those semi-finals. Everyone in the semi-finals, there's a lot of history. All the three world title, three world champions, Steph, Tyler Wright, but then Carissa and Tatiana. We know there's that little bit of spark of rivalry after what happened at the finals last season. So really loving what I'm seeing coming into picture for the rest of the event.
Great looking matchups for the women's semi-finals. Brisa Hennessy here with just under 40 seconds, looking to get out of combo. Had a really nice looking wave for her. Loads of speed on the entry. She'll set up into a high line and maybe look for, well, I thought that one was going to go hollow for her there. She'll just bide her time right now and go to the calves. Brisa Hennessy transitioning down the line at J-Bay with absolutely tons of speed. Had a little look at a hollow section. Decides to go around it, off the bottom. Nice carve from her. It's a well-surfed wave. And she's certainly not going to get the score she requires because she does need 2 of them. And she'll just bring this one in. A quarterfinal finish for Brisa Hennessy. No shame in that at all. She'd have loved to come back for finals day. She just came up against a woman in the form of Tatiana Weston-Webb, who had a slightly better wave selection.
She's going to take this one all the way to point. Sorry, Paul.
If you're going to make your exit from competition, do it with a wave all the way down the point at Jeffreys Bay. Meanwhile, Tatiana Weston-Webb, well, she'll just be wanting to surf her semi-final right now, I reckon. She'll be absolutely full of confidence. We mentioned that's when she's at her most dangerous. Cannot wait for that matchup against Carissa Moore in the second semi. And that wraps up a really highly entertaining day of competition. It's pumped all day long. We've got loads of big talking points, a lot of drama to talk about as well. That's all coming up in the Corona post-show. Do stay tuned for that. Going to bring Ronnie Blakey back in. Luke Egan is also going to join us in the studio alongside you, Rosie. Cannot wait to see reflections on a massive day of competition. A huge scoreline for Tatiana Weston-Webb, 17.2. Gets the nod over Brisa Hennessy. We'll see her on finals day. Could be tomorrow. As I mentioned, Corona post-show coming up right after the break.
position. Either rise or you fall. I'm on a mission, bringing my dreams to fruition. I ain't playing at all. Bring out the body bags, I'm about to kill them, deliver them to the mortician. I gotta do what I gotta do. That's for my fish, back in my face. I gotta do what I gotta do. I bring it down, he never came. I'ma do me, I'ma do me. That's in my blood, I never change. That's in my blood, I never change. That's in my blood, I never change.
Welcome to the Corona Post Show, and what an epic show it is going to be. We have just been blessed with incredible conditions here on day 3 of the event window, and it continues to roll on through. And all those surfers who've been watching the action unfold now getting their opportunity to tap into maybe one of the rides of their lives. Ronnie Blakey joined by Rosie Hodge and also Luke Egan. Rosie, it's been a great return for you back to South Africa.
Oh, man, I've loved every minute of it. I mean, just looking at the conditions over our shoulders, it continues to absolutely cook, Ronnie.
It's cooking, Luke, and a big day, mate. Some huge upsets, some of the top seeds falling out of the mix.
Yeah, huge day, and that swell just kept pushing and pushing, going a little bit more south this afternoon, so pushing down the point. But, wow, there was some incredible rides.
We're going to break it all down. But if you did miss any of the action, here is what unfolded on day 3 of the event window. We kicked it off. There was so much on the line for our competitors as they chased down those spots in the WSL Final 5. Felipe Toledo, the #1 seed. He's clinched his spot in the WSL Final 5, but he is out of the mix here and won't get that 3rd J-Bay title this season because Iago Dora, the goofy footer who spent the majority of the first half of the season out injured, is back in a big way and dropping excellent scores on his road through to the quarterfinals, and he is going to be a hard man to beat. He is just looking so powerful, so strong, and is really developing a fantastic relationship with this location. Jack Robinson, his form is undeniable, and he came up against the GOAT, the 11-time world champion Kelly Slater, who had some real moments today. Fought his way through the elimination round into the round of 16. But Jack Robinson, he's just on another level at the moment. His rail turns continue to improve, but it's his read in the barrel that's helping him fetch those big numbers as he's powering through this contest and closer to solidifying that place in the WSL Final 5. Geordie Smith wowed the local crowd with a really strong performance here once again, and his read is just as strong as it's ever been, as he gave us great variation with those big frontside hooks, attacked the pocket, and just proved too strong for Griffin Colapinto in an epic battle in the round of 16. Those guys, both two of the highest scoring surfers in the mix, and Geordie just won't slow down. He just continues to read this place so well. And as I said, just has that beautiful flow down the line. And look at some of these finishes, just so strong and really working that crowd over and getting them into a frenzy as he charges towards a big finish here and potentially into a Final 5 position. Tyler Wright comes into this contest sitting at the 10th position on the ladder, but she's already making a climb, causing some big upsets today, overtaking the current world #2 and making some space for herself at the top end. And she's just showing the kind of form that saw her claim back-to-back world titles. Carissa Moore, a very difficult day for the current world #1. Broke her board prior to the heat getting underway and had a marathon paddle over the rocks and then had to run up the beach. Ended up getting into the lineup, getting her breath back and maintaining her composure and doing what she does best. And that is giving us incredible power in really stressful moments. And she is going to get herself another shot at a J-Bay victory here, and she could go back-to-back. Last time we were here in 2019, she overcame the field, and she's looking to do it again. We're going to have a look at the women's bracket. Amazing semi-finals established. All our world champions are still in the mix, chasing that title, and last year's world title runner-up, Tatiana Weston-Webb, she'll get her shot as well. So it's going to be a fantastic showdown with all these favourites meeting in the semi-finals, the men's bracket. We can see the quarterfinal heats are shaping up beautifully, and it's going to be a great charge towards the victory here, and there's a big opportunity for some surfers outside the Final 5 to get themselves in the mix and climb that ladder, and with a big performance at Tahiti as well, they could cause some huge upsets. But check out worldsurfleague.com for more highlights, athlete updates, and full heat replays from the Corona Open J-Bay. All Alrighty, let's take a deeper dive now at some of the big moments from today. Rosie, it started with the elimination round for the men. There was some great performances, but you know, it started to get really interesting in that round of 16, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. I think things started to heat up. I think everyone is so aware of their position on the rankings coming into this, and so many of the guys were like forthcoming with the fact that they were looking at the rankings and really considering their spot and how they were going to approach the surf that we had on offer today.
Yeah, Luke, you know, some of those surfers just outside that WSL Final five are starting to really find their flow. Kanoa Igarashi, for me, is one guy that stepped up in a big way. He's got a bit of a mountain to climb, though, because there is some surfers just above him still alive in the contest too. Yeah, there is, and even before the contest started, for me, they're the three guys I wanted to watch was Griffin Colapinto, Ethan Ewing, and Kanoa Igarashi. Those guys right there, they're having their best year they've ever had on the tour, and they're right there trying to take 2 spots. You know, 3 don't fit into 2 spots. Yeah, I think the big thing, Rosie, with Kanoa and Griffin Colapinto, they were so close last year but missed that opportunity at a venue where they're very strong. So they're doing everything in their power to correct that in 2022.
Yeah, and it definitely stung for Kanoa last year, not being in that picture. We know how competitive he is, and yeah, that was a hard loss for him not to be in that picture. I think this time he wants to kind of shut the door and really take up one of those spots. Like you said, Louis, those chairs are filling up fast. Like, there's not much space and much time for these guys to solidify a spot.
Yeah, that is so true. This guy just seems to be settling into his performance here, though, Luke. He made some odd decisions in the opening round, and he was aware of that. He said he probably overamped, but today reeled it in a little bit, but still surfed on edge. Yeah, and I think there's a new carve there that he's been working on. We saw him a few times. He gets a nice barrel there, but he's been doing this hold the rail carve down that I've never really seen from him before, and it is getting him some great points and mixing it up for him out here on the point. Can perform in the big moments too. We saw that at the Olympics last year. So Kanoa Igarashi, look at the heat score total for him, 16.26. He was absolutely buzzing with that performance, and still thinking about his position on those rankings, and definitely is aware that, you know, a quarterfinal finish isn't going to do it for him. He's got to do some more work here to catch these guys ahead of him on the rankings, especially when you consider Ethan Ewing still alive and looking very strong in that bottom half of the draw. But who do you take out of there to put him in? Yeah. That's why I'm so interested in 4, 5, and 6. You know, they're having a career best year. So who doesn't get in? I don't know. We're going to talk about it, but let's see how Kanoa's feeling after a big heat win and getting himself into the quarterfinals.
Well, Kanoa, even though you won your heat yesterday, you are still asking more of yourself. Do you feel better, finding some momentum and some really good scores in that last heat?
Yeah, I feel like I'm getting there. You know, I love this wave. It's I feel like it suits my surfing. I think I've heard every single person on the webcast say that today. So I'm one more, but it's just because it's a perfect wave, you know. And I'm just really happy to kind of find my feet a little bit more in that heat. I felt like I surfed pretty bad yesterday, and I was a little bit tired, and I didn't sleep that good. But yeah, today I felt better, and yeah, just enjoying being in South Africa. It's one of my favorite places in the world. It's so beautiful, and I mean, we're looking at probably as good as waves get right now, and you can't really ask for much more. So as a surfer, on behalf of all the surfers, thank you, J-Bay, and yeah, it's nice to make more heats.
As fans, we love seeing this performance from you. You're a citizen of the world, but your heart belongs in Japan. I know there's a lot of people online supporting you and watching you. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, みんないつも応援してくれてありがとうございます。本当に今日のヒートはすごい大切だったので、今回のそのトップ5の目標に向けて、本当に今日のヒートはもう今日は本当に間違いなくもうマストウィンっていう感じのヒートだったので、やっぱり緊張の中でね、いいプレスの緊張するプレッシャーの中でいいパフォーマンスを見せられるということだけでも本当に自分で嬉しいので、このまま続いて明日に向けて、明日もまたすごい大切な日なので頑張るので、みんなの日本の応援をよろしくお願いします。Oh, and also I just want to say parabéns, muito maneiro, fizeste anos ontem. Abraço.
Arigato gozaimasu.
Rosie, you're all over the place. And great to have you on the Corona Post Show once again. But you can tell that he's really starting to zero in, and that is an opportunity now with Griffin falling out of the mix. I mean, it was an impressive performance from Griffin, but not a great result, and he's already hanging on to a couple of 17ths as well. So he is a little vulnerable, and he's going to have to really ramp things up at that last stop.
Oh, definitely. And it was really tough to see Griffin after that heat. You could tell he's wearing that disappointment. And obviously coming up against a brick wall. Geordie Smith, he knows this place so well. Griff, he's disappointed now, but I think he's going to reconfigure himself and do a great job in Tahiti.
Most definitely. In the bottom side of that round of 16, Luke, we had one of the best heats with two very high-scoring surfers, Ethan Ewing and Matthew McGilvray.
Yeah, that was awesome. Ethan just, his timing, you know, Jeffreys Bay, speed, power and flow, it nearly suits the criteria. You know, you just add this point, and when people excel in those areas, they do well here. And Ethan Ewing just looks spectacular out there with Matty just falling a couple of times. He didn't look as comfortable as yesterday and just pushed it a little bit hard in the wrong areas. But Ethan Ewing, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I think when you're watching someone with so much style, Rosie, you can kind of forget just how fast they're going, and that's really been the key to Ethan's success this year on his way to his best results. He's ramped up the momentum, and he's not sort of syrupy anymore. He's explosive, and he's really letting go of some great turns.
And surfing aside, I think he's really put his head down and he's working hard. He said that he came to South Africa straight after Rio. Instead of going home, these guys have not spent any time in their own beds. He spent the 9 days in the lead up to the event here, getting Duncan Scott in his corner, a local legend. Matty McGilvray, he had the high mark of this heat with the 8.0, but wow, the solid surfing from Ethan just eclipsed Matty's performance.
Yeah, just had the crowd absolutely howling as he came through that barrel, let go of some of those big extended calves. Had he finished this one off, you know, that number would have gone even higher, right up towards that perfect ride. But I think he found an edge, Matthew McGilvray, over Griffin Colapinto on the opening round, attacking the bowl. But Ethan matched him in that department during this heat.
Ethan's positioning is so incredible. Like, look at that, just gets up into the steep part of the wave and arcs down, and he's so smooth. And the variety too, he gets to about here on the wave, and there's about 4 different top carves he can do. And he really impressed me today. It was a spectacular performance.
Look at the heat score numbers for both competitors. Matthew McGilvray getting that highest single ride of the heat, but Ethan beat him with a couple of high-range 7s. And he is going to power through to those quarterfinals now. The Australian, who's looking to solidify his place at the top end of the leaderboard. He's going to have a really fun clash in the quarters. Well, it's going to be fun for us, up against Geordie Smith.
Oof, that is a huge heat.
Yeah, looking forward to watching that one play out. But yeah, it just was relentless, the swell today too, wasn't it? It just didn't stop from the first heat. I don't think I've seen it that consistent, Luke, ever, and it was perfect having the overlapping heats.
Yeah, it was, and I kind of called it wrong in the morning. I thought it was going to come in on the rocks a little bit with the high tide, but talking to a few of the locals, they said that the swell actually turned a little bit more south this afternoon, and when it turns south here, more swell can get around into this bay, and that's why we saw the size get bigger this afternoon. And yeah, there were some massive waves out there, some as big as I've ever seen it.
And some of the biggest waves came through in that last quarterfinal heat for the women. And Tatiana Weston-Webb and Brisa Hennessy really locking horns, and they're in a very interesting position on the leaderboard at the moment. And Brisa got off to a fantastic start here, Rosie.
Yeah, Brisa was looking like a hot knife through butter on her waves. I think just something that was lacking was just that critical in the lip surfing, but just had a lot of length in her surfboard, and it looked so good under her feet. Think about where she's had success in Sunset. That's almost kind of similar with the power that we're seeing today.
Yeah, it's tricky, Luke, because this is probably the biggest surf that some of these competitors have been here at Jeffreys Bay, and you could almost see a bit of decision-making and hesitation from Brisa at times, whereas Tatiana Weston-Webb got big walls and she just didn't hold back, straight off the bottom, right up into the pocket.
I was really impressed with her performance, and just the timing. Like, there's a lot of water moving there. It's not super hollow, but you do catch a lot of speed. So to actually come off the bottom and get into the lip in the right spot to get good points just like that, Tati just had it down and getting some huge scores, and she just attacked. To attack such a big moving piece of water, it's a difficult thing to do, and she went out there and just took it to it.
She's got a reputation for her commitment in sizey conditions, Rosie. It was well and truly on show, especially on those big end sections.
You know what? When we zoomed in on her on these waves, she had this huge smile on her face. I mean, she absolutely loves a bit of juice. And like you said, just committed surfing through those bumpy sections and never was kind of in two minds about what she was going to do. She was hooking it under the lip. She was really committed when it stood up, and she didn't burn a lot of speed as she was going for her maneuver choice. So a really cool look at what Tati's capable of at Supers. I think she's made the semi-finals here before, so let's see if she can go one better and get in the final.
Yeah, it's a great point of difference. She's going to carry into the semi-finals. Tatiana Weston-Webb on that backhand, surfing as strong as she is against those regular footers, Luke. But, you know, as I said earlier, all the world champs on the Women's Championship Tour are still alive in the mix, and they've proven to be so dominant on these right-hand point breaks.
Yeah, they have, but I think we'll see the swell probably drop a little bit tomorrow and be a little bit more organised. And, you know, Tati's going to bring it tomorrow as well, so let's see how she goes.
Yeah, well, she's climbing the ladder as we speak and getting closer and closer to that final five. She's down there with Strider.
Thanks, guys. Down here with Tatiana Weston-Webb. An amazing performance at an amazing surf. Tell me about what was going through your mind when you entered the water.
Thanks, Strider. Not much, honestly. I was really focused on just like getting out through the keyhole like properly and not getting smoked, because I just witnessed Carissa get like super smoked, and then I was like, I definitely don't want to do that. And then obviously just trying to focus on my bottom turns and top turns. That's it.
And it seems as though you're thriving in these kind of heavier conditions. Actually, in the slow-mo, we saw you smiling as you were coming out at some of your top turns.
Yeah, the last wave was just so much fun. The 9 that I got, I was just like, oh my gosh, this wave is standing up perfect. And I just felt like, I don't know, I was just enjoying it because I had watched Perfect J-Bay go all day long. Like, everyone surfed so good. And yeah, we're just super, super blessed to have these conditions today. It was amazing.
And I know nothing's for sure, but after your performance out here and then you're coming into Chopo, it looks like you're a big threat for the Final Five.
Thanks, Strider. I'm not even thinking about the Final Five. I think last year being in the title race against Carissa was something that I think haven't digested fully, and I know that if I get to the top 5 that I can perform really well, and I know I'm confident in that high pressure situation. But I think at the moment I'm just kind of focusing on my heat strategy and picking the right waves and just surfing good. I think I've had a really hard time doing that this year, just because, yeah, it's been a really weird year for me. But regardless, I'm just really grateful. Like, today is why we're professional surfers. So yeah, thanks to all the locals at J-Bay for letting us, you know, have the lineup today. It was amazing. And yeah, thanks to all my sponsors, and thanks everyone watching.
Well, we can't wait to see you in the semifinals against Carissa Moore. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Tatiana Weston-Webb running on confidence and really does back herself. I know she hasn't had the consistency in her results, but Luke, she's had the performances when it's counted, and it counted today.
Yeah, and what I've noticed, when she's done really well, the next event she kind of loses really early. So I can see there in a post-interview that she was just like, got to stop thinking too far ahead of myself. She just wants to worry about a strategy, and that was one thing there. She just wanted her bottom turn and top turn is so important out here. That's where the points are. She's just trying to focus on those couple of things, and the rest will come, and that's what happened.
Looks like she's just focusing too on having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, that's so important on this turn. I think we've had such a long run through these events. So for her to get in that mindset after tough losses and reconfigure what she has to focus on, it shows that she's built up a lot of character over the last few seasons.
One of the great additions to each of the championship tour spots is actually some of the great events that we're staging. And We Are One Ocean has really been taking off around the schedule. And we've had another great turnout here at Jeffreys Bay.
We're trying to create these ocean guardians that will go into the township and talk about the oceans, that will represent the oceans, and will, you know, be the ones fighting for it.
We're here today for a surf therapy and environmental education program with the WSL Pure grantee J-Bay Surf Alliance. They're in partnership with the Cape Town-based NGO Sentinel Ocean Alliance. This program provides a safe space for kids to learn more about environmental impact, all while teaching themselves and pushing themselves to learn how to surf and protect the ocean.
So stoked to see the kids' faces. Just lights up.
At JBay Surf Alliance, there's two main components to the program. We have the surf therapy program and we have an ocean education program. The ocean education program really introduces the kids to the ocean, but also teaches them about ocean threats, about marine plastic pollution, why you shouldn't use single-use plastic or throw your rubbish on the ground. It's educating the kids about the ocean and why we need to protect it. The surf therapy program, we're teaching these kids life skills, we're teaching them resilience.
Good to them to experience this healthy environment of being in love with surfing and the ocean and looking after the beach and each other.
In through the nose, out through the mouth. I'm going to do some meditation here.
I think it's good to start from the ground up, teach and educate everybody on ocean plastics and even just plastics around the ocean and plastic in general. We're just trying to do our little bit.
We're picking up plastic because we don't want to let the plastic affect the fish.
They can take this program through the rest of their lives, you know. And I think the kids, when they come, they feel the love and they feel the care. It's a whole different change of attitude.
The kids that go through the program, once they've graduated, they can then become a coach and they can then teach the younger kids, you know. So we keep the cycle going of educating the kids about the ocean and teaching them about surfing.
To teach them about beach cleanups at such a young age it's a really good thing. So I'm over the moon, stoked, and yeah, love it.
There's so much awareness being spread with this little program, from mindfulness to cleaning up the beach and ocean and protecting, you know, what's so beautiful and what brings us all so much joy, to taking them surfing. It's an amazing program and it's just the first step to making a big impact. So it's really cool.
I think it's important to just educate ourselves, educate our friends, educate the community so that we can all contribute to the bigger picture.
Yeah, it's awesome that the future generations are already, you know, learning about it and getting educated, and, you know, I'm learning and they're learning, and so it just shows us that we have a bright future and having a clean ocean, and it's really exciting.
You got a lot. Yeah?
The kids are absolutely loving it and they're frothing. But so without a company like WSL to give us the seed funding, we wouldn't be having this conversation today. You can't get off the ground without it. So massive thank you to WSL. We really hope that we can continue this relationship with them, and hopefully one day one of our kids will be in the JBay Open.
Yeah, and we really loved having the founder of the JBay Surf Alliance, Frank Solomon, big wave charger from South Africa, who was on screen there. Great to have him in to call some heats today while Geordie was out in the water, but doing a fantastic job. And make sure you give him a follow and get behind them.
Yeah, it's so awesome just to see the impact that they're making in this community. I mean, a lot of underserved communities here in Jeffreys Bay. So to see that community come together and really uplift the people and create a safe space for people to come and educate them about this environment that we love so much is so important.
Louis, we were rubbing our hands together, smacking our lips in anticipation of the Surfline forecast coming into this window. Today was the day that delivered in a big way, and it's helped us set up some incredible quarters for the men and the semis for the women. But what can we look forward to tomorrow morning?
Yeah, well, so we've got decent size out there this evening, so I think it might hold in the morning and be still there, but I think it's going to drop throughout the day. But just the size we got now, it'll hold through, and we should have a fantastic another day of competition. It's going to fade a little bit, but I think we'll be okay.
Oh, dogs and kids were almost getting washed off the beach today, Rosie, so it probably wouldn't be a bad thing if it just came down in size a little bit.
That's so, yeah, I took a little trot on the beach earlier and I was like, whoa, who's looking after these children? Because it was coming right up. We got those king tides with the full moon. Geordie was saying in his post-heat interview, the only thing that we've really got to monitor is those winds. I think we're going to have a northwest wind in the morning. It's going to clock around to more of an easterly direction, which is an onshore. So hopefully it doesn't affect it too much, and we'll still have a lot of push and power to see the final days get underway. away.
Yeah, we can really pick the eyes out of it though, Luke. We don't have that many heats left to serve.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, so if the wind, see what the wind does. It's only going to be light though, so hopefully we'll be okay, and we'll get competition running again tomorrow.
Let's get stuck into some more highlights now. We're going to check out the top 5 moments from a big day here at the Corona Open J-Bay, starting with number 5, Jack Robinson. What a performance from him in this contest so far. It's always a dream when you get the opportunity to surf against Kelly Slater. Jack didn't waste it.
Oh, Jack went absolutely mad in his heat. It was so fun to see him build throughout this encounter with Kelly Slater. Kelly had some beautiful moments, but Jack just threading that tube and maximizing the time under the curtain.
It's just so impressive, Luke, how strong that rail surfing has gotten, even comparing the surfing he's doing now on the rail compared to when he won in Mexico last year.
Jack Robinson's just still growing. Doesn't matter where we go, he just applies himself and puts the work in and works out how to surf the wave. And Jeffreys Bay is exactly the same, and we're going to see a good result from him.
Number 4 in our top moments today. It's not really a highlight moment for Carissa Moore, but really a low moment. But she certainly recovered well, Rosie. This was a marathon effort in this big clash with Caroline Marks.
Oh, you know what? I was putting myself in Carissa's shoes and just thinking about how it crumpled like a wet paper bag after being put through the rinser like Carissa did in the beginning stages of that heat. But she went out and just showed her character, just such a champion, fought back, and just a beautiful, graceful person that did so well to come back after that adversity.
Yeah, she felt like crying at the start of that heat, but she was smiling in a big way when she got the win. Number 3, J-Bay Barrels, tubes all day with that extra energy in the lineup today, Luke. The tubes really opened up and the competitors just stuffed themselves way back in these pits.
Oh, there was some incredible barrels today. There were tons, and yeah, it was incredible to see. Just that swell direction was perfect for down the impossible. Impossibles became possible today. And yeah, we saw a bunch of guys get fantastic tube rides.
Sammy Pupo there, he had some highlight moments. Iago Dora, this one was from deep and he managed to find a way through. So impressive, tucked in again. Great read on this one.
I loved it, and Kelly came up to Iago during this heat and was like, how was that wave? And you could see him kind of gesturing of what he had to do to get under that lip. So surfers really enjoying their time here at J-Bay.
Yeah, Steph Gilmore found a big set wave in her quarterfinal heat, Luke, and really did enjoy that beautiful vision looking down the line here.
Yeah, Steph was incredible. She got out there and just harnessed the power straight away, just big calves and getting herself positioned nicely for the barrel.
Coming in at number 2, Tatiana Weston-Webb. Undeniable just how strong she is here on the back end, and just her go-for-it attitude. It's something that you can really celebrate.
Yeah, charging. I think that's just something that comes to mind when you think of Tati and just how much she's able to attack. I just love the fact that she had just this big smile on her face and just working through these meaty sections and staying connected and definitely being committed on these rides.
Yeah, just I loved just the joy that she had riding out of some of those final manoeuvres. Really, you know, sketchy sections too that caught a lot of people out today. Number 1, though, belongs to Italo Ferreira, ramping up, getting the biggest heat score total of the event so far, and looking like he's in the same sort of form now that got him a world title in 2019.
Yeah, he ticked all the boxes, just beautiful out of the lip surfing and some incredible tube rides as well, leaning forward into this one, coming through. It was just incredible to see him just get some form, riding a little bit longer board, about an inch longer, and really suited. And yeah, that's the best performance we've seen from him yet this year.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, 4 surfers in the men's event chasing their first championship to a win, but Italo, he is the world champ that's left in the mix here. Geordie Smith's got those 2 J-Bay titles already. It's going to be really hard to pick a winner, especially with those 4 surfers that I mentioned showing such great form. They're looking like event winners at this contest, Rosie.
Yeah, I've been so impressed. I'm thinking about, you know, what Iago Dora was able to do. Sammy Pupo has been blowing my mind. As a rookie on tour, being well rewarded out there, he looks like he's just kind of... There's some surfers that get here and they just tap into a certain kind of rhythm on the wave, and I think Sammy's got that tangible love affair with this place already.
Yeah, when I think about those final 8 surfers in the quarterfinals for the men, Luke, I feel like all of them have a fantastic chance at winning this event.
They do. I've just got this feeling Ethan Ewing's going to break through tomorrow or when we have the quarterfinals. I just feel like he's been pushing hard, working really hard, and it's got to break through soon, so why not it be tomorrow?
I love it. Rosie, what about on the women's side? Those semi-finals, so stacked.
So stacked. I mean, Steph was the performer of that round. I mean, she got the 8.33. Well, Tatiana got the 9. So, you know, it's hard to go past Steph at Jeffreys Bay.
It sure is. She just showed great form, and she kind of cruised her way through that clash in the quarterfinals. So she's going to have a lot of energy when we potentially get finals day underway tomorrow. Don't miss a second of it. We're going to be here at first light for the call, so tune in, and we'll look to get the Corona Open J-Bay started once again. Good morning once again from the Eastern Cape of South Africa. We are gearing up for what could be a very special day.
Picturesque, beautiful, offshore. This is exactly why you come to Jeffreys Bay.
And up and riding is Philippe Toledo.
Griff just tearing apart another one.
Slater getting a big first turn in.
Racing in the tube is Geordie. Racing, and exiting.
We're also diving into the round of 16 now.
This is an important wave for Jagodora.
Bangs one. Nice and steep, really critical in the pocket.
Chasing down Philippe Toledo for a potential heat win. And Jagodora's in the tube on the backhand. It's not easy, but he'll come out. He'll go in again. Oh, yes, he'll come out. Oh, come on.
Just one of those gifted waves, and I knew right then I was going to get what I needed.
Jack Robinson up and riding, our current team leader.
Meanwhile, Robinson, is he inside this? Is he coming out? He is. Jack Robinson is absolutely flying through a barrel here. Shut the front door, Jack Robinson. Just with an absolute ton of speed, and he'll look to pull in here, and he'll weave underneath a really nice section. Not an easy place to maintain the speed and get a big throaty section for Pupo. He'll come out of that. Another really nice snap with the release of the fins from Pupo, just tearing this wave apart. Brilliantly surfed wave.
As we see now, Italo on the outside. Unbelievable backhand snap. I think one of the most high-risk turns that we've seen on that outside section yet. Just fell out of the sky and still has the momentum as he tucks into the tube. Will he come through this one? He's driving, and he Rip is, hangs onto it. On his way to a monster score.
Someone is deep inside the barrel and emerges to a massive roar from the home crowd support, Geordie Smith.
We are going to dive back into the women's event this afternoon with quarterfinal number 1 shaping up beautifully. Tyler Wright up against Joanne Defay.
Tyler Wright up and riding. The turn off the top, and then a beautiful power carve.
And Steph's got great control on these bigger waves. And flares straight up into the left. Huge turn to get started.
This copyrighted event broadcast is produced by the World Surf League for broadcast around the world and may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the written consent of the World Surf League.